Everything stated in this video is my opinion and my opinion only. And just like everything else in these cases we discuss here on this channel, everything is alleged. Hey, you guys. Hey, Danny. Yeah, I'm hoping we can get through it today. My daughter was like, oh my gosh, are you serious? Y'all are not done? No, you're not done. Hey, Summer. Hey, Angel. Scallywags. Hey, Twiz. Yeah, we're going to try. We're going to try super hard to get through this one so that we can actually get like to the end of it and see if there's anything awesome. We shall see if we're missing out on anything. I do have me some coffee. Hey, Sarah. Hey, Moonvale. Hey, I've got something to say. I got something to say too. Hey, Salty. Hey, Lori. Hey, JB. We'll give it like 5 minutes. I try to always give it like 5 minutes. I have not gone in and like looked at it either because I want to read it with you guys. Hey, Jackie. What I probably will end up doing after the fact is going in and doing like a smaller video of just like any key points that we went through. So I'll just have to go through the lives and see what we found and go through the document myself again. Some of that stuff from yesterday, I was like, holy crap, where are they getting this information from? Crazy. It's going. I had a lot of work system issues today. 3 separate systems went crazy. They finally figured themselves out. Hey, PJs, second chance. How you doing? What is today? Is today Thursday? I never even know what day of the week it is. It is Thursday, so tomorrow's Friday. Good. Good. I'm ready for Friday, so I don't have to wake up to an alarm on Saturday. That'll be awesome. And I did post earlier. I don't know why they posted this one late, but it was, you know, how yesterday we had the motion to seal the exhibit, that USB drive. All they did today was like file the actual order for it to be actually sealed. This one right here. I mean, it was done on the 22nd, but they like just now posted it. But other than that, that's it. There's nothing new. It's just that stuff. So we'll have to go over this. Hey, Aunt. Yeah, you made it back in time. You were the first comment, and now you're back. Awesome. Awesome. Oh, some of y'all might not have seen it, and I'm not showing it to you for any other reason than to show you that I made it. So you remember yesterday, the ones that were in here yesterday, I said that I wanted to make a Nancy Grace shirt of her, like, the way she says jurors. I made it. I totally made that shirt. I got really bored today on a call. I was like, let me mess around on my Canva for a while. See what I can come up with. It was actually pretty relaxing to just mess around with some clip art. I'm hoping that they have some stuff in here with some more ammo to it, because so far the most insane thing was the rumors from social media and all of the, however they were able to mishmash all kinds of stuff together. And of course there's stuff in there that has stuff to do with Jack Showalter and other people, and it's being put together in these people's minds on the survey like it's stuff that belongs like with Bryan's story, and it's not, which is crazy to me. Oh, like really never, honestly. Hey, LA, thanks. Hey, Holly Berry. Hey, Doc. Hey, Christy. Yeah. Yeah, I've been doing it for a couple years now. I just got on YouTube, and Googled a whole bunch of different print-on-demand stuff and just learned. I learned pretty much everything myself. I learned how to edit videos and everything myself. I just got to get in there. And honestly, print-on-demand is one of the easiest and cheapest side hustles that you can start, because you can get a free account with Printful, and then if you use somebody's referral link on Etsy, you can post 40 listings for free instead of paying 20 cents a listing, or at least that's how the referral link like used to work or whatever. But then Canva has a free version. The only difference between the free version and the paid for version, besides the fact that Canva's paid for version has like better graphics, is you can take the background out. I think there's probably background removers out there that are free, but those, I just stick to the ones that I learn, and I really don't try to like overcrowd my brain with like learning new things. That's why like my videos, they really are never going to be like more advanced than they are now, because I'm never going to get more techie than that. I'm just not gonna. Like, everything that I use is hella simple, and it's the same stuff I'm having my daughter learn how to use, and it'll be the same stuff I have my son learn how to use. Just the easiest stuff. But you can learn anything on YouTube. You really can. Hey, Julianne. It does. I think she put something else out today, didn't she? I didn't even watch it. I had so much fun making that shirt that I didn't want my day tainted with dealing with whatever she had to say. So I'm probably going to look at it tomorrow. Oh, I will never, ever work for those people. I will never be part of the alphabet gang. That's never going to happen. I probably have one assigned to me, but I'll never be part of their stuff. Hey, Anita. Okay, guys. It's been about 7 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and get started reading this stuff. Let's see if I can remember exactly where it was, because I remember us getting to like an actual stopping point, and I think I actually had maybe the number on the page wrong, because I thought it was 196, but I think maybe it was. I think it was. Yeah, impact on the community. Let me make sure. Okay, nope. We read that part. I do have the page numbers wrong. Why was I up on page 196? Yeah, it's like $3 or $4 a shirt. Something like that, yeah. Because the way that I have mine priced, I mean, it would be more than that, but I cover the shipping cost. I pay for shipping. That's why I can offer free shipping on my Etsy store. And I know that like whenever y'all are looking at my YouTube channel, it shows spread shop or whatever it's called at the bottom. But that's because for some reason, like YouTube doesn't allow you to link your Etsy store. But yeah, since I offer free shipping and I cover the shipping cost, I it's like $3, $3.50, maybe $4 a shirt, just depending. Which is fine, because I just, I can put a shirt together in about 5 minutes. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, she gets me going. She's cray. She cray. Okay, I'll keep thinking of you guys. Let me know. Hit me up on Twitter or something and let me know that everything's good. Okay, let me see if I can figure out where we were, because I had the page wrong for sure. Unless they're repeating a bunch of shit for some reason. Because we read about how candidates wouldn't consider the job because of the murders in the county. People not locking their doors because they cray. I remember that. Cops were checking everyone's cameras. Businesses being affected. Yeah, I feel like we stopped like mid-page, because I was asking you guys about locked doors and then we stopped. So I think it's like mid-page right here somewhere. She's not talking about that Kim Broski. She's talking about her daughter. I don't give a damn what that Kim's doing. Okay, so we're going to start right here because I stopped here to ask about locked doors, and this was where they were talking about the effect on the community and about how it basically went from strangely being a place where you never lock your door to now you're locking your door. But that also kind of says a lot about the situation too, because a lot of people know that pin code to the front door of King Road, like everybody had it pretty much, right? Because it was a party house, plain and simple. Olivia was one of the actual first people. Kaylee's sister was one of the very first people on an interview to call the house a party house. It came from the family themselves. So everybody had that pin code. But it kind of makes me wonder if maybe there is a possibility that they just like didn't have it locked. Like, is there a way that you can turn off the auto lock or whatever? And maybe they just left it unlocked because this whole community seems to just leave their freaking doors unlocked. That's what I'm wondering. Really now, more about like the door to King Road. Okay, let's see. We read that one about this guy shutting down a business and losing interaction with students. We read the one about this person trying to hire candidates, but people wouldn't consider the job. But I was just assuming that meant he was trying to get people to come into town, and they wouldn't once they realized the location. Let's see. Yeah, no, this is the one about the daughters and the nieces. Buying the house in 2014. We read that one too. Okay, I think this is the last one we were at. Okay. Oh my God, it terrified the university. There were kids that just left school because they were scared. It's not something that occurs in the area very often. I hate it now that everyone knows Moscow because of the murders, and that is very sad. It should be known for so much better things. The community was very freaked out, and the whole school didn't shut down completely, but a lot of kids left before the semester. It is so sad that someone committed a murder like this here for no apparent reason. For no apparent reason. It's not what this area is all about. I am a University of Idaho alumni. Yeah, I'm sure it was a different feeling for the people that have been there forever. Because I know that they've had people that have like passed away before or whatever, but not like this for sure, like at all. Scared everyone. Cops were checking everyone's cameras. We were not prepared for something like this in our community. And we still don't have any sort of understanding of why this has happened. It has changed everyone's way of living and thinking, terrifying to a lot of women who live here. Maybe you think differently about how to live life. I mean, probably, honestly, a couple people probably started doing things a lot differently, truthfully. Significantly, we live in a small community, so we were all very affected by this. We feared leaving our homes. Our businesses were affected. We are still a little on edge. Strongly. People on campus were very worried, especially before they had a suspect. Even though I am nowhere near a target, it made me increase my security. It scared everyone. Wow, we were scared. I live out in the country, and who knows where the person could be hiding. We were very scared because we didn't know where he was or where he could be, and I was especially scared as a mom. Terrified us. We never locked our doors. Now we lock our doors and have security systems. It's going to get worse when the trial starts. You know, I kind of believe that because they're going to have a whole bunch of people all of a sudden just like in town. That's what's going to end up happening. It's going to be a bunch of strangers coming in, and people are going to be on edge all over again. But then again, if they move it to a bigger county, then Moscow really won't have to deal with it maybe, but people will probably still be traveling to Moscow to try to drive by the area. You know what I mean? Because that's just probably what will happen. Extremely disturbed about it. The media was very negative. It was shocking. It was painful for the witness. What irks our nerves, the witness? What irks our nerves is his thesis on how to get away with murder or crime. See, it wasn't a thesis. It was a group project. Again, just people that don't have the full information. And we talked about this yesterday. The way that the rumors and stuff that we're getting from the people in the surveys, it's like they believe it was like a serious thesis for his PhD that would be written by him and only him, because it's his graduate project, basically. Not a project that he did with other people, including a professor that was also in on the communications. I just really don't understand how stuff that's so like clear cut information can be so misconstrued for no reason. It was really sad in the following months, and we are not a big county, and too many reporters were there. It was very dark times, a lot of fear in the community. On campus had added security, shook up the community. It was immediately scary when they didn't have a suspect. It impacted it economically, and the school closed. It was a shock to our community. We live with unsettled feelings since it happened. It was terrifying after this happened. Many of us have lived in fear and still do. It shut down everything for quite a while, the university and everything, and it was the talk of everywhere you went, in person, news, just stopping for coffee because something like this just doesn't happen around here. It undermined the sense of safety in our small community. It was very traumatic. It was horribly sad for the victims and the victims' families, the students, and our community. It scared us all. We lived in fear. There was a lot more police presence than normal. Our younger adults were scared to leave campus and their homes. We had a difficult time feeling safe in our community. It put our community through hell. It was an awful thing. It impacted our community drastically in a negative way. It took the innocence away from our community, also caused us to live in fear. It instilled a lot of fear in the high school students. All the press were parked out here. It was intimidating. Oh, that's true. Like, you think about the fact that it's a college town, but then you kind of like forget about the fact that like it's also a place where there's elementary school kids and high school kids and like other kids everywhere. Kind of forget that whenever the basis of the whole thing is it's like surrounded by the college. Yeah. It has made us close and we lock our doors, created doubt in our community. So it's made you close, but then it's created doubt in the community. Isn't that like the opposite? Our community used to be safe. It has made me not trust, more cautious. Oh, how does it make you close? This person sounds very confuzzled. I think this person is just like in a mix of emotion and doesn't really know how to feel because everything they just said is a contradiction to itself. It devastated the community and made everyone scared. We now lock our doors. I've lived in Moscow my entire life. First time we have ever felt unsafe. Once he was caught, it was a little better, but still have some insecurities, especially on campus. I think it impacted us deeply, and I think it's going to leave a mark on us for a long time, if not forever. I only live 15 miles from where this happened. The community is still reeling from this. I think a lot of more people started locking their doors. It's been a pretty open community, but a lot of locking their doors and considering buying firearms, especially for the college kids, I think. It really rattled the college to the core. I get scared driving in Moscow. Had a huge impact on the community. It shocked us. It had a huge impact on the college. It made us all wary and we were frantic. Some students left and didn't come back for 3 semesters. It was a very scary time for me and our community. Everyone scared. It was a very small community. Devastatingly, the grief was overwhelming. I did go to the memorial, and it was a heartfelt outpouring of love for the victims and their families. Everyone was afraid. Some people left for the semester and didn't come back, not going there anymore. The University of Idaho ramped up security and was very visible to help people feel more safe. Because I work for the university, I saw a lot of the students and other faculty. I heard about some of the classes that the victims were taking. They canceled classes and the university offered mental health counseling sessions. Yeah, but out of like what, almost $1 million, they spent like $3,000, barely over $3,000 on mental health. That's like literally it. Outside of the university, there were a lot of people that felt unsafe until a suspect was caught. In the community as a whole, there is a loss of innocence. We never thought anything like that would happen in our community, and now that it has, our community has forever been changed since then. So that's the wrap up of how it like affected the community. So anyone that was doing a survey, that was their like open-ended answers. Hey Heather, that was their open-ended answers to like how they feel. We're gonna try, Red Bear. We're gonna try. Yeah, I noticed that too. It's like ridiculous, honestly. Like super ridiculous. People are dumb, Twiz. A person is smart. People are dumb. Faux shiz. Hey, Wildflower. How you doing? Okay, Anita. Okay. Hey, AR. The other school is, are they? Like the high schools and stuff's not great? Yeah, no, it was a group project at DeSales because there was like 3 other students. It could be 3 other names altogether, including the professor, but for sure, I remember there being 3 other emails for contacts for the people working on the project, and then also the email for the professor. So it was definitely like a DeSales thing. Hey, Meg. So yeah, now, hey, Allie. Okay, so now we're going to get into the community pressure to convict Bryan Kohberger because I know. Like for real, that's the greatest freaking point, and that's the same question I have for the freaking roommates. If they've got the right dude, then why is everyone tripping still? Because remember, this survey completed just June. This went from March 3rd of this year to June like 23rd or 24th of this year, a month ago. People are still acting like this and behaving like this, and it was supposed to be the one and done guy that they've got locked up already. I know. That's the same way I feel about the 2 roommates not wanting to apparently come back over the border. Hey, Tara. Because if Bryan's the guy, or even resembles even remotely the dude that Dylan is claiming to the police, at least, to have seen, then what you worried about? What are you worried for? Hey, Scott. I'll have to look that up. That's interesting because they put so much on the college. And honestly, I wouldn't want to send my kid to a college where the public schools in the area are failing and have like bad ratings. I would never. And you probably don't even think about that, right? Like you don't even think to look that kind of stuff up. But it says a lot about the community if the public schools are failing. Thank you, Allie. Hey, Jody. So yeah, that's a good point. Hey, back again. How you doing? Oh man. Nancy Grace is crazy. That's my opinion only, Nancy. Don't get upset. They really have. And in honest truth, like we don't know anything because anything that they have sort of like given us, they haven't given it to us correctly. Like, like how they're able to just like manipulate what they show. So I don't trust it. I don't trust none of it. None of it at all. Okay. The community pressure to convict Bryan Kohberger. And this was a big topic because they really felt like with them literally having nothing and nothing and nothing and nothing, which we've proven that with what they've shown us. They switched the car 3 times from the Nissan to a Hyundai to a different type of Honda. I mean, not different type, but a different year of Hyundai. They literally on December 29th, even though they apparently had boots on the ground in Pennsylvania, getting ready to take him in, were telling us no suspect. But they were also telling us at the exact same day that they'd released that press release about there being no suspects, that they were going to drop the 911 call and let us finally hear it. And they didn't. He didn't. They didn't. They lied. They did that, I think, to just make whoever they were arresting, because they really, I'm trying to like figure out how to word this where it doesn't sound the way that it's supposed to sound, if that makes any sense. To the cops, they don't want to let their information out to the public, especially whenever they're about to make an arrest, because to them, they're arresting the right guy. So if they say certain things out into the public, then to them, that's giving that guy that they're about to go arrest like a heads up. So I'm going to say this from Chief Fry's point of view. They only teased no suspects and we're going to drop the 911 call because they didn't want the guy they were about to arrest, aka Bryan Kohberger, to know anything was about to happen. Even though I personally don't believe that Bryan did this, okay? They haven't proven anything. That would be the reason why I feel like they would have lied to us about it, but I still don't understand why even mention the 911 call. Like, why even tease that? Why not just do the press release on the 29th of December claiming no suspects at this time, no people of interest, no person of interest? Why even mention the 911 call and get everybody's hopes up for that? And it's really odd too. Another thing that a lot of people always bring up is how strange it is that they're so private with this 911 call to begin with. And I personally think it's because they probably can't hear anything. We know that there was all kinds of people there, and we've already know that like it was already like, oh, it was a roommate's phone, but it wasn't the roommate, but it was made from inside the house. But oh, there's a whole bunch of other voices, and dispatch talked to multiple people. It might be so like jumbled that you probably can't hear anything. Like, it's probably not clear whatsoever. I really feel like it was only labeled as an unconscious person because of that rule that we found about the first 10 seconds. If they can't figure it out, that's like a basic code where they can actually get the cop cars on the way, is the unconscious person. I just don't think they should have done that, though, because that's just insane. Okay. Community pressured to convict Bryan Kohberger. As demonstrated in answers to several of the open-ended questions, many Latell County residents expressed a sense of relief after the defendant was arrested. Survey respondents were asked how they believed residents in their county would react if the jury acquitted Bryan Kohberger. Latell County survey respondents' answers indicate that a local jury would be under tremendous pressure to convict so that the community can begin to heal and recover the sense of safety that was lost. That's true. Latell County is more inept to convict just to make people feel safe than pay attention and actually vote on the situation based on fact. That's true. I feel like it would be no, Twizzy, that's not no. No. It's not. People ask that a lot, but it's not her. It's because of the photo. But no, Meg is not Kim. We talked about that yesterday. Yeah, that's funny. As far as I can tell, Meg is not. Meg is not Kim. That's what she was just telling me that yesterday. Oh, you, my mom. You're crazy. Oh, something happened with Bloom face. I'm gonna have to go see it. I'm gonna have to check. Yeah, she mentioned it yesterday. She was like, "People keep saying that I'm Kim." I was like, "It's because you're blonde." It's funny. Who is it though? You can tell me. People are allowed to drop channel names. I don't understand people who don't allow people to drop channel names. Where was he at? Because I'll be one. Look, not even gonna lie. I really kind of want to get his stupid book just because I want to talk about the crazy crap that's in his book, but I'm not paying full price for it. I found a deal today though on an audio book for like $14. So I might do that. I might get it that way. I will literally only buy it if I can get it on a deal. I mean, nobody does at this point. So does that make me Kim because I don't trust them either? That doesn't make sense. Okay, I know that channel. I'm not a fan too much, honestly, but I will go watch it. It's interesting that he's been making the rounds again. Did he mention anything, Tara, about the bomb? I wonder how many times I can say that before YouTube throws a fit. Because I still want to talk about that, especially since it didn't pan out the way he said it would. And that's like so telling, right? Like he came out here and said that like it was going to be a big thing, that all of these people were going to be coming out and talking about these materials. There was even somebody, and I kept a screenshot of it, and I have his chat. Well, I don't know if it's a boy or a girl. I'm not going to sit here and act like I know either way. But I took a screenshot of the comment and then the channel just in case he gets rid of it. Whoever this is gets rid of it, because he said something about a certain chemical that they're claiming that Bryan had access to at WSU and that's what they were investigating. I don't hear nothing, Howie. I don't know. I think it's too new. I'll try though. I haven't taken the kids to the new library yet, but I will try. Another Idaho author? Is he writing a book too? Hey, April. Huh? Who's feminine? Too fast for fleas? That's weird. Fleas are not awesome. I don't. Yeah, and he probably bought it full price and Oh, that's a good point right there. I wonder if I could buy it from Amazon and then just be like, so disappointing. I need my money back. Yeah. I mean, Google could probably teach you to do it with all kinds of stuff. Oh, that guy? Yeah. Mm. Yeah, I remember hearing about that book. I mean, I have a whole plan because it says it's like 5 hours and like 30 minutes, I think, of like audio time. I was scheming in my brain today while I was making my Nancy Grace T-Rex. That's true too. That's true too. Plus, I know how to use like APK files and like different stuff like that. Like, if I really wanted it, I could get it easy. I just don't know how much effort I want to put into it because it gets on my nerves. They had Fixler on? Hmm. There was no ID in a glove box. There was no ID in a glove box. The glove box is in a car. Oh no, I read that wrong. In a glove in a box. That's true. I read that wrong. I read glove box. I'm like, there was nothing in his car. Yeah, that's kind of what Bloom alluded to, but he also said that people were going to be talking about it like within another week or so. So nobody did that. But I mean, the IDs I did question because if they were just like his old IDs, there'd be no reason for them to take them in. They wouldn't be on the inventory log. So that's why when he said that, it kind of piqued my attention because people get arrested for things they didn't do on suspicion because they think they actually did something else, but they've got more to be able to hold them on this one thing than that. And so whenever he mentioned that, a bunch of people were like, okay, well, what if that's what they were really investigating and they ended up just arresting him for this because that's what the only thing that they can really put him on, but in reality they're really investigating him for this other thing, which is possible, guys. We don't know Mr. Kohberger. we don't know Mr. Kohberger. All I know is that the story they're telling us right now don't make any sense. Oh, thank you, Danny. Thank you, Danny. Yeah, I'm really like thinking about it because I'm not trying to do none of that crazy stuff. I mean, I feel like they probably would have taken anything that was a weapon regardless of like the weapon that they think is involved in the crime. They would probably take them all. Yeah. But not the victims for sure. Like, not the victims. They can't say that those have anything to do with the Idaho house whatsoever at this point, honestly, because Ann Taylor has already made it clear there's no connection. And if anything in that, if there was anything that could even remotely connect to the victims that were part of those IDs, they couldn't say that. Oh, welcome, 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 welcome. Well, actually, because she's highly inappropriate and like way too sexualized, and I don't appreciate the way she speaks. She wasn't a member, from what I can remember. And even if she was, I don't have to. I don't deal with that kind of inappropriate stuff. She said something ridiculously inappropriate to me, and I don't appreciate people that talk like a nasty gutter-rated triple X film 24/7. So, just FYI. Well, I mean, sort of, but not really, because it's in the inventory list from whenever they went to Pennsylvania. So while it is like a big like media topic and it's a bunch of things that people are sort of just like guessing and stuff on, it's true that they did take a bunch of IDs that were inside of a glove inside of the thingamabobber. You know what I mean? Like they were found there. It's just that the fact that there's a freaking gag order, it's just ridiculous. They won't. Hey, Jen. Oh, where'd you go? There you go. Hey, Jen. I mean, I have a potty mouth, but the stuff that she would say was just disgusting. Like she basically sits there and sexually harasses whoever's on the panel. She did it to Willie for months. I made a comment about it one time, just like joking to her, and she went insane. And then she came in here and asked me a ridiculous question, like, you already know, like, you've been here long enough to know that I don't even like to be around men or anything because of the situation that I'm in and the relationship that I had to run from and everything else. And you're just in here being nasty. Like, just go be nasty over there. Oh, I know you're not that one. That's why you're still here. Anyway, okay. So let's get to this because we know damn well that they didn't have anything at all. And then all of a sudden, they had an arrest and everyone was trying to figure out who the hell Bryan Kohberger was. So let's see about the pressure, because this is going to be pressure from the community. And this is the way that the community actually felt about said pressure. I wish I had a thingy around that because that's like really wet from the ice. Okay. As demonstrated in answers to several of the open-ended questions, many Latell County residents expressed a sense of relief after the defendant was arrested. Survey respondents were asked how they believed residents in their county would react if the jury acquitted Bryan Kohberger. Latell County survey respondents' answers indicate that a local jury would be under tremendous pressure to convict so that the community can begin to heal and recover the sense of safety that was lost. Many survey respondents reported that an acquittal would lead to an uproar and put residents back into a state of fear, knowing that the killer was free. Others reported that Bryan Kohberger would be killed if he was acquitted. People have said that too. They've been wondering that. Like, if they can't prove it, which so far they can't, but if they can't prove this and he gets out, his life really is in danger. Like, I feel like he would probably have to go into like witness protection for a while. I really do. I don't think he'd be safe, especially like knowing that the cops have already basically admitted all the screw ups and all of the different officers, I guess, that would kind of like be in trouble, because just Payne and Maury, however you say it alone, like they've proven to be hella inadequate at their job. Hella inadequate, which is just insane that they are still getting a salary. Survey respondents also reported that the defendant would have to present evidence to convict the community that he was not guilty. These comments reinforce the quantitative data, which show a strong presumption of guilt in Latell County. Examples of these types of reactions to a hypothetical acquittal include, so this is going to be how people would feel if Bryan got out. And this is coming from the mouths of the locals. So this is going to be pretty interesting. So far, the only thing that I'm finding interesting in these is the like open-ended answers from the local people, for sure. I feel like they could have chosen better headlines and media things to talk about. Maybe they'll add more later, but so far I haven't been impressed with their choices. Okay. They'd burned the courthouse down. Outrage would be a mild description. Very upset. They would think the jury failed, and then everyone that was local in the jury, their lives would also be in danger. I think we would all be heartbroken all over again, and fear would probably rise in us again. I don't think we would be okay with a not guilty verdict at all. It would be very hard for our community to accept, and it would be difficult for us to move forward and feel safe in our own community like we once did before this horrible tragedy. Oh my gosh, I would be so afraid. Possible riots. Man. Riots? Well, this is like 400 people. But I don't know. I doubt they're going to give me like all 400. Put a 1 in the chat if y'all think if Bryan Kohberger was let go in any way, shape, or fashion, that they would riot in the town. Like actual riots, like we saw a few years ago. Right, I feel like she has better ammo than this. They're not using what they have. Y'all do think they would riot? Meg's like, hell yeah. Shit would pop off. Damn. The frat people, right? The college kids. Okay, put a 2 in the chat if you think it would be college age, or put a 3 in the chat if you think it would be like the locals. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with Tonka. I don't think there would be. I feel like they might go, maybe shoot him up at the sky out of anger. I honestly just don't think that there would be riots. Maybe protests. I mean, yeah, but not really, because small towns know how to get their point across without burning stuff down, honestly. I don't think it would be like, I think there would be a lot of tension. I think there'd be a lot of animosity. But I don't think there would be riots. I think there'd be protests. I think there'd probably be like, groups of people that would gather. Maybe 1 or 2 people would get arrested because they rowdy, crazy social media people that would show up. Something would pop off. But I don't think it'd be super crazy. I don't think it'd be riots. I think this person is a little bit cray-cray, honestly. Well, let's see. Okay. We will be disgusted unless some major evidence proves different. The entire county mostly believes he's guilty. I believe that. I mean, that's kind of what they're showing us. They better have substantial evidence to not convict, and people would be fine if that was the case, right? If it was true, if it was true, and they'd have no reason to be upset. They could only literally be upset with their own people. Like, they could only be upset with the cops. They would only be upset with the court system, only the people that were in charge of everything. They couldn't be like upset with him getting out if he was truly innocent. He would have to be mad at like all of the other people. The house. I mean, I found it ridiculous that the Goncalveses boudaed about the house and then went to some tropical vacation instead of filing something with the court to put it on hold, because they could have. It might not have done anything, but Shannon Gray could have filed some sort of injunction, and they chose not to. So they did a bunch of crying, and then they didn't do any of the actions that they legally could have and had the money to do if they wanted. Just saying. If he's not guilty, prove it. They will have to prove it with real evidence that he is not involved in the murder. They proved that he is not guilty. They'd have to find somebody else because someone killed those kids. I can't imagine. Did they really just totally not spell that whatsoever correctly at all? I'm just going to let it go. I can't imagine that happening because they have so much against him. We would be dumbfounded, but they don't. I don't see how. I cannot imagine this. Oh, look, they spell it right here. So they misspell it here. They don't fix it when it's right there. Thanks, say it louder. I appreciate it. That's funny. I don't know why they don't just fix this stuff. Like, are they not using spell check? I don't understand. But then again, why the hell is with all the bold stuff? Like, I really wish I could understand why they chose to type this out this way. Because this is absolutely wild. That it's bolded all over the place. It don't even make no sense. Make no sense. The families would be upset. But honestly, the Goncalveses seem to just want an answer, not the answer. Even though Steve is out here saying stuff to apparently the Andrew Myers channel, the state's having a hard time putting a connection together. Well, then why aren't you out here asking the right questions? Just ridiculous. Just so ridiculous. I think there are a lot of people that have already made up their minds and would be upset. They would lose faith in the justice system. I think the community would not be happy. Most people I have talked to say they're convinced he did it. I think it would be very negative. I think the general consensus is that he's guilty. A lot of hotheads here in Idaho. I think it would be scary. A lot of people think he's guilty. I think they would be rather shocked because of the evidence gathered. The DNA and stalking are hard to get around. You mean the stalking that doesn't exist? Stalking that doesn't exist? I think they would be angry and shocked. I think they should try him right here. I think their reaction would be horrible. Most people are convinced he's guilty. I think it would be very hard. People would be very upset. I think everyone pretty much decided it was him. There would be another media storm on how the system failed because most everyone I know believes he is guilty and has been tried in the media. There's going to have to be a lot of compelling evidence to find him not guilty. So if he's to be proven innocent, then that's the justice system. A lot of negativity in our local government. I feel like he's already been condemned. Residents and community would be very negative with that. I think he probably would be killed. Well, there's multiple people thinking that. Riots, parents will take care of him. Steve. Don't do nothing cray-cray, Steve. Yeah. Thank you, Allie. It's been fun. I was like so scared to do lives, but it's actually like real comfortable. But it's probably because like y'all are people that I've like known on here forever. It's very rare that a like name comes in that I don't, recognize from somewhere. So that's probably got a lot to do with it. I appreciate you guys being here. Maybe. Yeah. Yeah. True story. Yeah. I mean, that's true though. It's true. I mean, that's kind of like human nature, right? Like you want to believe it because in the end, the phrase ignorance is bliss really is adequate. Like if you don't know already the crazy shit that happens in these college towns, in these small towns, all of these things, then you sit here and you believe everything that the cops tell you because you don't have any reason to second guess it. But once you get one taste of what the hell is really happening behind the scenes, you can't ever think normal ever again. Well, I mean, but we don't know though, because there's been parents that have gone and done like vigilante type stuff because the court system didn't do what they were supposed to do. And the way that they have literally like basically brainwashed the entire state almost, because like I said, the percentages between Moscow and Ada County, did I say it right? Yeah, I'm always having a second guess. Then I mean, it's not really that big of a deal. The only up that they have is that it's a bigger population to choose from. Other than that, it's the same amount of people, pretty much like 5% different, don't really do much. They want him to be guilty so they can get it over with. They want him to be guilty so that they don't have to answer to the taxpayers about why the hell they wasted millions and millions of dollars on the wrong guy. It's just all crazy. The world sucks. Okay, again, people may or may not take things into their own hands. I think that people will be very angry. Kohberger will be in danger if they do not find him guilty. They would probably find him in him. Several would be on the hunt for him to make sure he gets what's coming to him. See, that's crazy. Like if a guy gets out because he's guilty, why would they go after him? I mean, because he's innocent, why would they go after him? It's not like, I guess if they could prove that he actually did something crazy, but then a technicality got him off, I could understand that. But if the evidence proves, like it's already proving, that he wasn't there, that he went the other direction, and that he wasn't even in the area, then why would they be upset like this? I kind of agree with Allie on this, honestly, because if he gets acquitted and it's true that he really is honestly innocent, then there wouldn't be any reason for people to be all crazy and go on the hunt and all wild. There just wouldn't be. Several would be on the hunt for him to make sure he gets what's coming to him. That's just wild. They would likely be a riot, and he wouldn't last long outside because someone would do the good old boy justice. They would give him street justice. Oh my goodness, I think it would be terrible with all the evidence that they say they have. There would have to be some sort of punishment. Pretty much not getting out alive. I think they'd be really upset. Probably somebody would find him and take him out into the woods. Oh my goodness. That's the kind of country we live in. That would be ugly, and I'm sure street justice would happen. One of the family members or friends would take care of him. He would have a hard time finding a place for peace. He better go back to Pennsylvania real quick. I don't think it would be good at all. Kohberger would have to leave the state for good. That would be a horrible thing, devastating to the community. Pretty sure the community will be in an uproar. In a roar. In a roar. Be in an uproar. I just love this shirt so much. I'm sorry, guys. I can't help it. Where was I? Uproar. I think they would ask for the prosecutor's job. That one for sure. But the crazy part is that Thompson's like leaving. Thompson is already supposed to have been out the door a long time ago. I don't understand, honestly. Wasn't he supposed to already retire like January before last? Was it? Like, I could have sworn he was supposed to have already retired a long time ago, but then like nothing happened. That's true too. I mean, well, right, but he got put right back in jail by the cops after he got out. Rawr. Yeah. Yeah. I had fun making that shirt, Angel, I'm telling you. I kind of want to get it in like a light. One of those neon lights. Just make it like that. But the prosecutor, right? That's what I heard too. Like, we heard from the jump, this is going to be like his last case. So is he like not allowed to retire until the case is over? I guess I should look into that because I swore he was supposed to have been gone a long time ago. Just for this case, right? So he's going to stay in until it's done. Even if it is just him sitting there not doing anything, letting everybody else talk. I guess that makes sense. I thought so too. That's what I remember. That's what I remember. Let's see. I think they would react negatively. There wouldn't be riots or anything, but people would be vocally upset. Maybe have an impact on who the city prosecutor is. Some political impacts. That's a lot of what people thought this was and continues to be. It would be seen as a pretty big error. Hell yeah, millions and millions of dollars worth of error, thank you, would reflect negatively on the city prosecutor if he couldn't get a conviction. People would be scared again and very mad at the police. It would raise concern about the police department. Enraged, strong opinions, firing of officers. Mowry and Payne already need to go. They already need to be out of here. I feel that there is something wrong and there was corruption. Ooh! That's the only one that we have seen so far, isn't it? Isn't that the only one we've seen so far? I feel like it is. That's crazy. Okay. They would lose their minds and be very upset with law enforcement. And that would be really hard. Yeah, that would be really hard on people here. We want closure. I think it would be an uprising and a lot of disagreement. I think that would just crush our community. It would be anarchy, and University of Idaho would not have a lot of students want to come back here. But see, that's the crazy thing, and that's one of the things that people have mentioned is that their numbers went up. It could have been because they started offering more online classes that their tuition and stuff went up. That's why that's something I kind of wanted to look at. That's something I kind of want to look at because they can't claim that it means anything if people are only joining the school because it's convenient and it's online and now, they're an option to somebody that they weren't an option to before. So I'm going to have to check that and see. Where'd it go? Okay. We would be very upset and disappointed and let down and confused. Everyone would be very afraid. We would be appalled that there would possibly be a murderer on the loose. It would be very bad. It would most likely cause an uproar in our community and some uncertainty. I believe fear would fall over our community again if he is found not guilty. It would freak a lot of people out. It makes people really uneasy. They would be outraged. It would have an even more negative effect on our community. I don't want to think about it, but I think it would create an uproar and a horrible outcome for our community. They would not react kindly, probably would be riots. They really just don't trust their community to not lose their shit, don't they? It's kind of like insane. Twizzy did say something about some riots before, and I didn't catch the full comment before it went out. I don't know if that went through all the way already. I heard that there was still issues with that, or did it finally finalize? I stopped looking at it because there was a bunch of back and forth stuff. And I honestly didn't feel that it had anything to do with anything. The on-campus situation would have nothing to do with them doing some sort of Phoenix Online thing because it's online. So people would have been from everywhere. It wouldn't have mattered if there was like a local issue, honestly, if you really think about it in the long run. But I don't know if it finished yet or not. The Stickergate thing. There was protests and stuff. I don't know if there was riots. It's been a long time since I looked at the Stickergate stuff. I mean, that's probably what it's going to end up being anyway, because every single time Xana stands up and talks, he loses his shit. And Jennings seems to be more level-headed. She's kind of monotone like the Visine guy, but it works, I guess. Okay. 85% would be upset. I think it would be devastating and very disappointing. An uproar would rise in our community. There would be protesting in the streets. I believe that. I believe there probably would be protest. Not if they could prove it, though. Like, if they literally were like, yeah, this don't add up. Sorry, this evidence is crap. This dude's innocent. You got to let him go. But there would still honestly probably be protests because they would feel really uneasy with their police department doing nothing, technically, right? Like, it would still, regardless, the town would still have a reason to be upset. It would be horrific, and the community would lose their minds, and that would bring about more deeper fear within the community. I think that they find it very difficult, and people in our community would probably be outraged to a degree and would want clear answers as to why. Well, yeah, you'd get clear answers as to why he was found innocent, of course. In court, yeah. Residents would have an uprising. I think they would be shocked. We would want to be told why, and if a good answer wasn't given, it would most likely cause an uproar in our community, and the fear we had would probably rise in us again. Yeah, that's probably the most level-headed answer. That's probably the most level-headed answer. As long as it was proven, it wouldn't be a big deal, but that they would still be fearful because that meant that the person who really did it was out there and has been out there, people or whatever has been out there, and they've been in danger this entire time, and they've had a false sense of security. Could a whole town sue a government of a town, like a police department or like the county? Like, could the entire population of the county sue for emotional distress? Like, as a tort case in matters like this? I'm curious. Super curious. I can't even imagine what pain and anger and hurt and disappointment would come about if that happened. The newspapers have been very open about all of it the whole time, and I appreciate them reporting to the community, but it does not inform the community of all the evidence. Okay, well, your newspapers aren't going to do that anyway. You need to be looking at the court documents, and even if you did, you're still not going to get all of it because it's a gag order. So there's that. Oh, y'all talking about Xana? Yeah. He's funny. In his old, he's an old crotchety man, so he acts the part. That's what I was wondering. Like, could they, like, say Bryan gets off guilty? Not guilty. The evidence proves he's not guilty. He gets exonerated or whatever the hell happens, and he gets to leave. And the entire time, this town has thought that they were safe, that they had the right guy. They let their guard down, and it was a safe, like a false sense of security. Could they do that? I'm really wondering. I'm just saying. Crazier things have happened. Crazier things have happened. Okay. Comparison surveys. The comparison surveys also found significant case recognition and prejudgment in other potential venues. Canyon County is the second most populated county in Idaho with 184,660 residents over the age of 18. Approximately 90% of the jury eligible population there had read, seen, or heard about the case, and 51% followed the case somewhat or very closely. 69% of Canyon County survey respondents believe Bryan Kohberger is guilty of murder, and 57 reported that he would have a difficult time convincing them otherwise. See, that's still like over 50%. Still over 50%. In addition, 57% of those familiar with the case believe the defendant should be sentenced to death, and 59% indicated that he would have a difficult time convincing them that he should not be executed. Okay, so this Bannock County is 532 miles from Moscow. It didn't give that for Canyon. Okay. 532 miles from Moscow. It is in a different media zone and was exposed to less coverage about the murders. Approximately 84% of Bannock County survey respondents recognized the case, which is 14 percentage points lower than Latah County. 84% is a lot lower. It is a lot lower. Just 45% of survey respondents followed the case somewhat or very closely, and 59% were familiar with 5 or more of the media items tested on the survey. 5 or more, so like barely over half. I mean, these percentages seem a lot better than Ada County. Hi, True Psychic. Yeah. And evidence. Or lack thereof. Bannock sounds better percentage-wise so far, so I don't know why they're wanting to go to Ada, other than the fact that it's bigger. But percentage-wise, I mean, it would probably suck for whoever has to like travel back and forth because it's 532 miles. But wouldn't Judge just have to like be put up in a hotel or something, or Airbnb or some mess like that? Oh, I know. I'm from one with lots of them. Lots of them. 76% of those familiar with the case believe Kohberger is guilty of murder, and 53% of these individuals reported that he would have a difficult time convincing them otherwise. In addition, 53% believe the jury should sentence Kohberger to death, and 50% maintained that the defense would have a difficult time persuading them that he should receive a life sentence instead of being executed, which honestly is lower than that one. I mean, it's all lower, pretty much. Bannock County's percentages are all a lot lower. This data shows that there are differences across venues in Idaho. However, Bannock is a small county with just 66,911 residents over the age of 18. In addition, like Moscow, it has a large university that plays an important role in the local community. Idaho State University's student body makes up 18% of the county's population and is the second largest employer. Given Bannock County's size and similarities to Latah County, it is likely that the local jury pool would be inundated with media coverage if the case were to be transferred there. It's going to do that no matter where it's transferred, though. They better be. They better be. Because with this damn gag order, okay, I'll say this. If they lift the gag order somehow before trial, I don't think they're going to have to. If they don't lift the gag order and we go into this murder trial with a gag order still in play, oh yeah, they're going to have no choice. They're going to have no choice but to give somebody free vacation for 6 weeks. They're not going to have a choice. I'm really hoping that somebody tries to do something about that gag order. For real. Because it's crazy the amount of insanity. But like I said, I feel like regardless, they've basically already given Ada County a heads up. Like this is, hey, you're who we want to choose because you've got the bigger population. So technically there's another 11 months until we even get to the first date that they're trying to tell us that they want to start the trial. All kind of crap and insanity could happen in Ada County. I'm going to always say it wrong. It's just what it is. I can't do nothing about it. It's going to amp up for this entire year up until trial. I mean, I don't think they're going to lift it either, but as much as the Goncalveses seem to want it like gone, and the way that at this point Ann Taylor is saying stuff in court about how the gag order is hurting the case, I feel like if they came together, then maybe they could get rid of it. But I doubt the judge would do it. Honestly. I just don't know. Some people think that. I don't see it, honestly. A lot of people think that, though. Ada County is the largest in Idaho with 406,068 residents over the age of 18. Its population is more than 12 times larger than Latah County. While Boise State University is in Ada County, its student body of 22,113 students compose just 5% of the population over the age of 18. Ada County was also exposed to significant media coverage surrounding this case, which is reflected in the 93% recognition rate. Yeah. Like everybody knows about the damn thing. In addition, the prejudgment rate, 68%, mirrored that which was found among Latah County survey respondents. Exactly. The percentages are barely anything different. Approximately 56% reported that Kohberger would have a difficult time convincing them that he is not guilty. In addition, 49% of Ada County survey respondents who recognize the case believe that Kohberger should receive the death penalty, and 55% maintain that he would have a difficult time convincing them otherwise. See, Bannock is still like lower. All of Bannock's percentages so far is lower. However, there were important differences between the Latah and Ada County jury pools. Ada County residents are far less invested in this case. Only 15% reported that they follow the case very closely, compared to 29% of prospective jurors in Latah County. They were also less familiar with prejudicial media items. Approximately 63% had read, seen, or heard that police found a knife sheath on one of the victims' beds, compared to 81% in Latah County. Huh. That's probably the biggest one. It's like 20% almost. In addition, 52% had heard the DNA on the knife sheath matched the defendant, 15 percentage points lower than their Latah County counterpart. Okay. Ada County survey respondents were also less familiar with prejudicial misinformation reported by the media. For example, 35% had heard that Kohberger allegedly followed one of the victims on social media. No, they talked about it, but they never wanted it unsealed. They ended up doing this thing now to where like basically every exhibit ever gets sealed until further notice. I mean, I agree. It's not low enough either. Okay. Ada County residents had fewer personal connections to the case and Moscow community. Only 20% lived or knew someone who lived in Moscow when the murders occurred. Just 4% reported that they or a family member was a student or employee at the university there. In addition, only 2% of survey respondents are employed or know someone employed by a law enforcement agency involved in the murder investigation. Finally, Ada County residents did not experience the degree of emotional distress during the 6-week search for the killer, which was found in Latah County. Okay, I had to catch myself because I was like, you found the killer in Latah County. Hold on a minute. That's not what it says. It's not what it says. Okay. Approximately 31% reported that they or someone they know experienced higher levels of stress, anxiety, or fear before Kohberger was arrested, 25 percentage points lower than prospective jurors in Latah County. Ability to select a fair and impartial jury in venues saturated with media coverage. Is that what this one's going to be about? More media stuff. Okay. Okay. Let's see what this has to say. When a jury pool has been exposed to prejudicial media coverage, the trial court and parties are faced with unique challenges, which are not present in most cases. In high-profile cases, many prospective jurors enter the courtroom with extensive knowledge and attitudes about the case, defendant, and victims. However, it is often difficult for prospective jurors to predict how case-specific knowledge and opinions may affect them over the course of a trial. Prospective jurors may also unintentionally omit exposure to specific media items during voir dire. See, there's that word again. I can't say whatever. When asked what they recall hearing about the case. These items, however, may become salient and recalled from memory once witness testimony begins. The research also shows that information learned from media exposure can be misattributed as evidence presented at trial. Yeah. That's a big problem because the media is not good at keeping things in together on the right track without squirreling all over the place and then trying to they don't do a very good job of decompartmentalizing. I can't say that word either, but y'all know what I mean. Separating stuff out. They put it all together and it causes a bunch of issues. Okay. Given these factors, it is important to ferret out during voir dire. Stop putting this word in here, guys. Just stop doing it. The full extent of exposure to pretrial publicity, case-specific attitudes, impressions of the defendant, and potential motivations to serve. However, the prejudicial effects of pre-existing attitudes can occur at both a conscious and subconscious level, meaning jurors who profess jurors. I just love it. Now see, I lost my spot. I'm gonna have to stop doing that. Okay. Meaning jurors who profess impartiality may be fully aware of their bias or how it may affect them as the trial unfolds. This can make it difficult to identify potential prejudice during the jury selection process. The Supreme Court has recognized the limitations of the voir dire process as a remedy where potentially prejudicial pretrial publicity holy crap, P's and P's is an issue. In Irvin versus Dowd, the court concluded, no doubt each juror was sincere when he said that he would be fair and impartial to petitioner, but the psychological impact requiring such a declaration before one's fellows is often its father. Where so many times admitted prejudice, such a statement of impartiality can be given little weight. As one of the jurors put it, you can't forget what you see and hear. With his life at stake, it is not requiring too much that petitioner be tried in an atmosphere undisturbed by so huge a wave of public passion and by a jury other than one in which 2/3 of the members admit before hearing any testimony to possessing a belief in his guilt. Well, this right here is where I think they messed up from the beginning. And really, it would be Don Daniels. It would be Don Daniels. Oh, I didn't check it back. I see. I should have looked at the thing because I'm over here reading and I left the other page up. Jurors is just me making fun of the way that Nancy Grace says jurors because she gets on my damn nerves. I thought I switched back to this. But this phrase right here is important because whenever Don Daniels did her part in the search warrants, I don't understand why she felt the need to be the one to be like, yeah, we have this IGG link that the feds told me about. I'm not verbatim here. I'm putting it in my own words. But forget I told you. I know I told you that there was a DNA match on the knife sheath. I know I told you that they connected it through IgG and stuff like that. But in order for y'all to actually do this search warrant the right way and approve it, just forget that I told you. So whenever they sit here and they say all this stuff about the IgG and this, that, and everything else, and they're like, oh, but we're going to file a motion of limine. This is my biggest argument here all the time. They sit here and they argue back and forth, back and forth, back and forth about something that they're planning to just exclude in the first place. They spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on a fight that they don't even plan to actually have. It's so stupid. Research on voir dire shows that these concerns are justified. Jurors are often reluctant to disclose relevant experiences, relationships, or opinions that may lead to bias, even when pretrial publicity is not an issue. One study found that 71% of jurors had a fixed opinion regarding guilt. Only 15% admitted so during the voir dire. Marshall obtained questionnaires from 277 former jurors in 2 counties and found that 18% of those jurors admitted to withholding information during voir dire. That's not shocking. Didn't we have a girl in the Scott Peterson case? Lacey Peterson, Scott Peterson case that like lied about some stuff or whatever on her questionnaire and she got on the jury. I remember hearing something about that. Seltzer reported that approximately 39% of jurors who were interviewed after trial should have come forward in response to questions regarding crime victimization or knowledge of police officers during jury selection, but failed to do so. Many aspects of the large group voir dire format deter juror candor. Federal court judge Gregory Mize published his findings after experimenting with an expanded voir dire procedure in 30 federal criminal trials over a 9-month period, which included individual interviews with every veneer member who failed to respond to his general opening questions. Judge Mize reported that approximately 28% of members of each panel failed to respond to the dozens of questions posed in open court, an average of about 16 people per trial. However, when questioned in private, 1 in 5 of these silent jurors disclosed personal information that was relevant to the case. In 90% of the trials, between 1 and 4 of these silent jurors expressed bias that led to their removal for cause. So in a public setting, people get asked these questions out loud and people don't talk or say anything. And then they get into a private setting and suddenly they have no problem answering questions. I mean, that's kind of normal human behavior, honestly. That one. Strawberry. Yeah. No, that was the pregnant woman from California, Modesto, California. It was like 20 years ago now almost. Can't believe how long it's been. Scott Peterson? No, they caught him in less than a year after Lacey died. Y'all might be talking about something else. Oh, y'all are talking about this guy. Claremont serial killer. Is that something overseas? Is that over there where y'all are at? I'm gonna have to look that up. Yeah, I remember something about the baby daddy's girlfriend or some stuff. I remember that. Okay. A search of appellate opinions shows that juror disclosure has led to several mistrials by undetermining a defendant's fair trial rights. For example, in U.S. versus Colombo, a juror failed to disclose when asked during voir dire that her brother-in-law was a lawyer for the government. She did not mention this fact because she wanted to sit on the jury for the case. In Dyer versus Coldren, a juror answered no when the panel was asked if anyone had ever been a victim of a crime. After the guilt phase, the defense learned that her brother had been shot and 6 years earlier. When questioned, she told the judge that she answered no because she thought the shooting was an accident, not a crime. Her brother had been pistol whipped 4 times and shot in the back of the head. Girl. Girl. Honey baby, if that's what you think is an accident, please do not sit on a jury because you have got no common sense and you just like to lie. Problems such as these have also been reported in high-profile cases. For example, in the 2012 murder trial of Matthew Stebbins, who had been charged in a shooting death at a homeless shelter, a mistrial was declared after a juror announced during deliberations that she had a previous issue with violent crime. One of her children had been in the head. She failed to raise her hand during jury selection when asked if anyone had been a victim of a violent crime. According to her, she did not think it was going to be an issue. Miss ma'am. Okay. A $6.5 million judgment was overturned in the high-profile police corruption lawsuit against the public defender surrounding the Rampart Division in Los Angeles County. It was uncovered after the verdict that one of the jurors, Jennifer Salinas, had concealed knowledge of the scandal during jury selection. She did not raise her hand when asked if anyone had knowledge of the events surrounding the Rampart Division. Later, it was discovered that Salinas had played a prominent role in a movie titled Gang Wars that was based on the Rampart Division. Other jurors on the panel corroborated that she was familiar with the scandal and discussed aspects that were not in the evidence. So she's just in the shadows, literally probably getting paid to be in the shadows, and then she got busted. Jesus. Prospective jurors who have been exposed to prejudicial pretrial publicity enter the courtroom with case-specific knowledge gleaned from the media, social media, and discussions with friends, family members, and coworkers. Uncovering the full extent of jurors' case-specific knowledge and opinions in high-profile cases can be extremely difficult. Jury selection as a judicial remedy to address such bias relies on 2 factors. 1, that jurors can access their source of bias, and 2, are willing to report it. In one study where researchers tested the effectiveness of extended voir dire participants in the experimental condition were exposed to pretrial publicity a week before the experiment. Prior to viewing a trial, they were subjected to minimal or extended voir dire. The attorney in the extended voir dire condition explained how pretrial publicity may inappropriately impact decision-making, asked jurors to hold each other accountable for not discussing pretrial publicity, obtained public commitments to base their verdicts solely on the evidence presented in court, and to ensure that fellow jurors did the same. The researchers ultimately found that educating jurors on the potential impact of pretrial publicity did not eliminate the effects of pretrial publicity. High-profile cases also create a unique challenge during jury selection known as the minimization effect. This concept refers to prospective jurors' attempts to minimize the full extent of their exposure to pre-trial publicity. During voir dire, prospective jurors try to downplay their knowledge of the case using qualifiers such as just, nothing other than, only, a little bit, and that's all. In an archival study that analyzed the jury selection transcripts from 5 high-profile cases, 69% of prospective jurors used minimization language when questioned by the judge or attorneys. Who's that? Look, I know you've heard me try to say it 1,000 times. My mouth is just not going to do it. It's just not going to happen. Yeah, I don't know who Timmy Reed is. Someone needs to tell me. Because, if I go look up Timmy Reed, I'm going to get 15,000 different answers. Who's Timmy Reed? Somebody tell me. Is that the guy that got beat up by the frat? That's probably something we should talk about. I knew it. Oh, I knew it. I knew it. I don't even have all the details. I just knew it. Yeah, and they like decided not to charge anybody. Oh yeah, we're gonna talk about it. Because look, I'm gonna tell y'all right now. I'm looking at the university more than I'm looking at anything else. People have been asking me what I really thought. And I'm really kind of at the point where I think that they're really hiding some shit. The university is. Because the way that they behaved in this case is not normal. And now we just saw them literally allow a group of, what was it, 40, 50 guys? They go to this dude's house. They went to this dude's house. And they beat the crap out of him in his own home. And nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. And I really, really, really want to know if what's his face was involved, Hunter Chapin was involved, because that exact same weekend, all of a sudden, we had a picture of Stacey Chapin in front of the Latah County Courthouse, and her ass ain't wanting to been nowhere in a courtroom. And then all of a sudden, oh, they get to just go free. The way that Scott Green was in the spotlight for everything, the way that the house just vanished, the way that they didn't give a shit. No. And the disrespect on top of that. Like, I know boys will be boys, frat boys do stupid shit, college kids do stupid stuff, but the fact that they're going over there and literally like peeing on the house and stuff. There's just something. Yeah, because they let them go. They decided not to charge anyone. Like, it's on camera. They went to this kid's house. Well, why? Because they felt guilty. That's a guilty conscience. Guilty conscience. It is like a movie. Actually, it's better than a movie, which is why I don't understand why people want to like add a bunch of stuff to this shit that's not true and made up because they can't get new information. They can't feed their greed for needing something. I don't understand. Like, this is literally like, you cannot write something more dramatic than real life. Yeah. Like, above anything and everything, I look at the frats. Like, I look at something related to that university. Because honestly, like, what are we hearing from WSU? Like, Bryan came from that school. This situation happened off campus in Idaho. If any school has the right to be saying anything or doing anything weird, you'd think it'd be WSU. I don't know. Yeah, Christmas time. Apparently, according to him and his weird self. I mean, my hometown sure tried to cover up some boo-boo for a while. They ended up failing, but they tried. They still try. They still try. Okay. Another challenge in cases with significant media coverage surrounds the difficulty jurors have during voir dire. I'm going to slow down every time. I'm going to get a button. And every time that damn word comes along, I'm just going to press it. And I'm going to have an AI voice say it for me. Okay. Voir dire to recall every detail they have read, seen, or heard about the case. These types of open-ended recall questions require significant cognitive effort and often result in incomplete recollection. This phenomenon is an inherent limitation in how memory works. For example, if someone is asked to recall everything they know about the movie Star Wars, their description would likely miss important details they are familiar with. Memory is such more accurate when answering recognition questions. Have you read, seen, or heard if Darth Vader was Luke Skywalker's father? This concern is not mere speculation. In a 2017 change of venue hearing in Texas, community residents exposed a detailed pre-trial publicity over several years were called as witnesses. I got a cough. Hold on. There it is. Okay. I had to clear my throat so I don't sound like another robot like I did yesterday. Did I? It'll come out sometimes and then my brain will freeze. That's so funny. Okay. During the hearing, they were asked to recall everything they knew about the case. Following the recall question, they were asked a number of recognition questions about specific prejudicial and potentially inadmissible media items they failed to mention. The hearing demonstrated the limitations in memory. Okay, so these are going to be the questions. Can you tell the court the facts that you know about the state of Texas versus John Fiat as it relates to Irene Garza? Description of basic facts. Is that it? Let's see. I believe so. Now, Ms. Perez, have you read, seen, or heard about John Fayette giving a confession to a priest? Yes. And you didn't mention that a few minutes ago. Okay. This is on my nerves, and only because of this reason. I listened to a freaking conversation today between JP Stupid Face Miller, Bat Boy Face Stupid Face. I hate him so much. And the guy that apparently Micah Miller kind of was dating a little bit. I will. That's a great idea. Yeah, that's a great idea. But VD is also like an STD too. I don't know if I want to actually like say that. I'll figure it out. Anyway, I was listening to the conversation, and that's the kind of crap that he was doing. He was asking the dude, okay, well, where else did you touch her? Where else did you touch Micah? That's not what my guy said. Where did you touch her? Well, did you touch her here? And then the guy was like, yeah, I touched her. I was holding her hand. Well, you didn't mention that whenever I asked you earlier, wherever you touched her. Stupid face. Yes, I can't stand him. But this is what the conversation was like. He's like trying to get him to give him a story about what the date was like between him and Micah, which is, for those of you that have been following that case, that's the March 11th information, by the way. And this is what he ended up doing. It was open-ended, so I guess it would have been a recall question. And then towards the end of the conversation, he was asking him recognition questions, and then he was catching him up like that. Oh, but you didn't mention that a few minutes ago. that just triggered my JP nerve. So it's just ridiculous. Okay, let's see. Okay. And you didn't mention that a few minutes ago. I'm sorry. There were two that I remember. They mentioned that there were two confessions that he made to two priests. Okay. Have you read, seen, or heard about whether or not Miss Irene Garza was alleged to have been R-worded? I read yes. Now, having refreshed your memory a few minutes ago, are there any facts that you have read, seen, or heard that you haven't told the court about? I don't believe so. Okay. Have you read, seen, or heard that John Fayette was transferred to a monastery after this? I did read that, yes. So again, even after he asked her, how are they labeling it? Even after he asked her a recall question twice, both times she claimed she didn't know anything different. But then whenever he asked a very specific recognition question, she remembered hearing that situation, like hearing it before. And that's true. Like a lot of times I sit back and kind of like think a little bit, and I don't really feel like I can like bring up a whole bunch of memories and stuff, right? But then if I get asked about something specific, I can remember the situation. So that's human brain. Human brain for show. Yeah, I'm just not gonna say it. I'm just gonna have to try to like work on it, because I don't want YouTube to like freak out on me because I'm saying some crazy stuff. This is where they're talking about the reason why they have to basically validate to the court the way that the survey works and why they are doing it. So they're basically just using it as an example for the reason why they have yes and no recognition questions, and then like basically open-ended questions. It's basically just like examples of what they do. You know, like I work in the medical field, right? I call like a lot of insurance companies, and I deal with a lot of people that process claims, medical claims, different types of claims. We constantly have stuff changing, and we are tired. We are tired. That's why I know like just the stuff that I know changes and gets crazy complicated for no reason whatsoever in the medical field. I'm not even trying to touch the law stuff. They crazy if they think they're about to mush my brain like that. It's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. Okay. This limitation in memory recall has been demonstrated in several high-profile cases around the country. For example, in a change of venue survey in Sonora, California, 95% of survey respondents recognized at least one additional detailed report in the media from closed-ended recognition questions that they failed to mention in an open-ended recall question. A near identical trend, 96%, was found in another high-profile case in Nashville, Tennessee. For example, when asked, "Have you read, seen, or heard about the case?" one respondent answered, "Bits and pieces on the news. They were just talking about the case." However, he later recognized several media items, including that the shooting was captured on video by surveillance cameras in an area and played on the television news and internet. And two, the public approved a ballot measure in the last election to create a community oversight board to monitor the Metro Nashville Police Department. Both were prejudicial items widely reported in the media. You notice that whenever we were going through the stuff that the locals mentioned, none of them talked about what did you tell Adam and the grub truck stuff? Like, I think one person maybe mentioned like who they got a ride back from. But honestly, like a lot of the stuff that the news media, when it comes to like the little bit of footage that they did show, none of that stuff was really talked about. Like really at all, which is interesting. Let me check Twitter and make sure the world isn't blowing up. Oh, it might be blowing up. Hold on. Always got to check Twitter for the news because you just never know anymore. I finally put like my news alert thing like actually on notification because things have just been so cray. There's like a shelter in place alert for something. I just want to check it real quick because that stuff going on yesterday was wild. Oh, it's a huge fire at a car recycling plant in Lancaster, California. Okay. I'm telling you, I need to go back and clip that stuff, and I'm going to go to Surviving the Survivor and see what Bloom has to say. That's another reason, though, that I wanted to get, like, the book on discount. On discount. So that I can see what exactly it is he's saying, because, like I said, I'm still waiting, Howie. You said everybody's going to be talking about it in, like, a week, and literally no one talked about it at all. So that had to be a little bit embarrassing, honestly. Okay. A similar pattern was found in this case. When asked what they have read, seen, or heard about the case, Latah County survey respondents reported an average of just 1.6 details. 1.6. However, 96% of survey respondents later recognized at least one additional media item they failed to mention in the open-ended answer and recognized an average of 4.9 additional media items. Many survey respondents use minimization language or incomplete responses when asked what they knew about the case. Most of these prospective jurors later recognized items widely reported in the media and tested in the survey. And there's another table. Actually, I love this right here because it gives like the specifics in what they're actually asking people and what they're getting. Okay, for example, just 8% of Latah County survey respondents mentioned that police found a knife sheath near one of the victims when asked the standard open-ended recall question. However, 81% later recognized this media item when asked, "Have you read, seen, or heard if police found a knife sheath on the bed next to one of the victims?" This finding is particularly concerning given that 72% of survey respondents familiar with this media item believe that Bryan Kohberger is guilty of murder, and 55% reported that he would have a difficult time convincing them otherwise. What is that? I don't know that word. Don't give me another word I can't pronounce. What is... Okay, see, now I need to know. Am I going to get in trouble if I look this word up? Because I've never heard of that before. Never heard of that before. No, I mean, honestly, they kind of did. Like, a lot of people... Oh, a headache. Oh, That's funny. Actually, you know what's kind of weird? I don't I don't think I've had a single headache or a migraine or anything since we moved, which I didn't even realize until now. Hmm. Okay. All right. A similar pattern was found with other prejudicial media items, some of which were inaccurately reported by the press. For example, only 3% of Latell County survey respondents mentioned that Bryan Kohberger had stalked one of the victims when asked what they knew about the case. However, 45% later recognized this media item when asked, "Have you read, seen, or heard if Bryan Kohberger stalked one of the victims?" The failure to recall this detail from memory when responding to an open ended question is concerning, given that it is significantly related to bias. Approximately 81% of survey respondents who later recognized this media item believe that Kohberger is guilty. Okay. Oh my goodness. Literally everybody. 2, 3. So this whole thing is, have you read, seen, or heard if Bryan Kohberger stalked one of the victims? And like this whole column is pretty much a bunch of yeses. Okay. This table looks odd. Okay. What have you read, seen, or heard about these events? Recognized the case. Recognized a number of media items. And then if they, okay, so I guess, okay. Have you read, seen, or heard about these events? Nothing I can think of at the moment. But then also say, so if they say they can't think of anything at the moment, they're then asked if they read, seen, or heard if Bryan Kohberger stalked one of the victims, and then they say yes. Have you read, seen, or heard anything, blah, blah, blah? And they say just what's been on TV and the papers, and they still say Bryan Kohberger stalked the victims. If they have heard he's been arrested and the house has been torn down, then he also said he stalked the victims. That he was arrested so far and they are still working on the trial. This person heard yes, stalking. Just what I have read and seen on the news and newspapers. This person, yes, stalking. The trial will not be until next year. This person, yes, on the stalking. Just the basics of what happened, that he killed 4 students, yes, on the stalking. Read articles about the case, yes, on the stalking. The things that come up online, no, about the stalking. Interesting. The case has been getting delayed, yes, on the stalking. On television, yes, on the stalking. Mostly what's been on the news and social media, no, on the stalking. That he murdered 4 people, yes, on the stalking. I remember the general details that are being reported in the news, no, on the stalking. Basically, I know that particulars and some of the various things that have happened around the way. I have avoided a lot of talk about it, yes, on the stalking. Just what I read in the paper, same as everyone else, no, on the stalking. I am aware of the murders, yes, on the stalking. I saw all the reports about this case just on the news and in the local newspapers. I just saw and heard the basics, no, on the stalking. What I heard on the radio, that must be an older person, yes, on the stalking. What was in the newspaper, no, on the stalking. I haven't heard anything new, just what I've heard and seen on the news. The rest is just rumors and speculation, no, on the stalking. I wonder if that's the same person that said there's corruption. I wonder if it's the same person that answered that question. It'd be interesting to know. Just the basics from what I saw and heard on the local news, no to the stalking. They arrested him for murder, no on the stalking. Just what was on the news and YouTube, just followed along, no on the stalking. How are you on YouTube and you haven't heard that before? That's weird. Just evidence in the media, yes on the stalking. Not a whole lot, only what has been on the news, yes on the stalking. Just what has been on the news, no on the stalking, mostly about the delay in trial, and he has a high-powered lawyer, both yes on the stalking. And then the last one is delays in getting the trial going. I have not otherwise followed this too closely, no on the stalking. So I guess after they would like get an open-ended question, can you tell me what you know about it? They don't mention the fact that they know about Bryan Kohberger stalking, which we know now was not true, but we know it was a rumor. But most of the time, they knew that, even after saying that they didn't know anything else. Good point. Probably so. Probably so. The inability to provide a full account of everything a juror knows about a case puts the defendant in an untenable position. Counsel must choose to either rely on the open-minded question, known to generate incomplete recall, or ask media-specific recognition questions, which are more diagnostic speak Marie, but risk exposing prospective jurors to extrajudicial information they may not be familiar with. Prospective jurors' inability to recall the full extent of their exposure to pretrial publicity can undermine the value of voir dire as a corrective measure for identifying and ferreting out bias in high-profile cases. If jurors are unable to fully recall from memory their detailed knowledge about a case when asked an open-ended question, it makes it difficult for counsel to effectively exercise challenges. This problem is exacerbated when there is extensive reporting around inadmissible content or disputed facts. Incomplete recall also poses a problem for the trial court when exercising its discretion to weigh prospective jurors' self-reports about their ability to be fair and impartial and rule on cause challenges. This predicament is compounded by research, which suggests that professions of impartiality should not always be taken at face value. Part of the challenge media coverage presents surrounds jurors' efforts to guess how exposure to pretrial publicity may affect their evaluations of the evidence. Given the difficulties that such a guess poses, it is not surprising that claims of impartiality in high-profile cases have been shown to be unreliable. A study on the prejudicial impact of pre-trial publicity found that 62% of jury-eligible residents said they could be fair and impartial and decide the case solely on the basis of the evidence presented. However, only 39% said they could put knowledge of the media out of his or her mind. Yeah, I imagine for anybody that has had all of this stuff just like thrown at them constantly, to then be told that they have to sit there and just completely wipe your brain. That's impossible. It's impossible. It's impossible. Another obstacle is the well-documented tendency for individuals to respond in a manner that will be viewed favorable by others, which has been coined the social desirability effect. The phenomenon has been researched and found in a multitude of disciplinary settings, including the courtroom. Socially desirable responses are more likely to occur when individuals become focused on the public aspect of themselves. Public awareness of oneself can become particularly salient in a courtroom setting where prospective jurors are asked questions by an authority figure in front of a public audience. Jones, for example, reported that participants appeared to alter their answers to reflect what they thought a judge wanted to hear rather than what they actually thought. People pleasers. Yeah. When potential jurors learn through the jury selection process that the law requires them to be fair and impartial, there is a risk that they will overstate their ability to set aside their knowledge and disbeliefs in order to create a favorable public impression. Also referred to as response bias and demand characteristics, the effect causes the juror interviewee to pick up the subtle and overt clues as to what a lawyer or judge interviewer wants to hear. During voir dire, why do I keep saying that wrong? Like at this point, I'm just on my own damn nerves. During voir dire, A clear, strong message is often sent to prospective jurors. Good jurors are not supposed to have prejudicial information or biases about the case. If they do, then they should set them aside and decide the case solely on the law and the evidence presented in court. When this is established, many prospective jurors will adjust their public statements to meet to these courtroom norms. The social desirability effect is found even in instances when the jury pool has been exposed to extreme forms of prejudicial media coverage. In Raidu, the jury pool was exposed to a taped 20-minute interview in the jail between the defendant and the sheriff. In the interrogation, the defendant confessed to the murder of 3 people during a bank robbery. A soundtrack was added to the recording, and the interview aired 3 times on television within a few months leading up to the trial. They put music to it. That's ridiculous. 3 of the 12 seated jurors had seen the televised interrogation with the beat behind it. That's horrible. Despite the highly prejudicial nature of such a sensational televised confession, all 3 jurors told the court during voir dire that they could lay aside any opinion, give the defendant the presumption of innocence as provided by law, base their decision solely upon the evidence, and apply the law as given by the court. Chief Justice Hughes offered his honest view of the world nearly 90 years ago in United States versus Wood. Impartiality is not a technical conception. It is a state of mind. A trial court's decision whether a juror possessed this mental attitude of appropriate indifference must be reviewed in the totality of circumstances. It is not limited to the juror's response to a magic question. In Irvin versus Dowd, is it Irvin? Yeah, Irvin versus Dowd, the court ruled, no doubt each juror was sincere when he said that he would be fair and impartial to petitioner. I think we read this whole thing already. Yeah, they for some reason put this quote in here literally twice. The set-aside question has also been shown in the social science literature to be leading, increases socially desirable responses, and lacks validity. Research has demonstrated that answers to the set-aside question often conflict with responses to other measures of bias. For example, Moran and Cutler found that 62% of jury-eligible residents in a high-profile case said they could be fair and impartial and decide the case solely on the basis of the evidence presented. However, only 39% said that they could put knowledge of the media out of his or her mind. They also found the subjective estimates of the ability to be fair and impartial was not related to case knowledge. Sue Smith and Pedroza found that participants who had been exposed to negative pretrial publicity and reported that they could render a fair and impartial verdict were just as likely to convict compared to their counterparts in a control group who had read neutral pretrial publicity and also reported that they could be fair and impartial. So even if they did have a whole bunch of stuff happening, like in their forefront before that, those people could be just as unbiased and impartial as the people that had neutral stuff. I mean, I guess maybe, but you'd have to trust in the human. You'd have to trust in the human to be able to do that. And just because a human thinks they can doesn't mean that the human's brain is going to allow him to. Okay. My own research often My own research also demonstrates the unreliability of the set-aside question. A 2020 study presented at the American Psychology Law and Society annual conference found that prospective jurors profess that they can be fair and impartial, even in the most extreme of circumstances. Participants were recruited from a Facebook page dedicated to a popular miniseries called The Jinx. I've heard of that. The documentary is about Robert Durst, a real estate mogul in New York who had been associated with a string of murders. One second. Okay. Xbox issues. Just love having Xbox issues. Okay, where were we? Okay. The documentary is about Robert Durst, a real estate mogul in New York who had been associated with a string of murders. Durst was arrested and charged with murder shortly after the documentary aired on Max, formerly known as HBO Max. The miniseries included many highly prejudicial and potentially inadmissible allegations and details. The documentary also captured a confession that was unintentionally recorded while Durst was in the bathroom. People who publicly posted highly prejudicial opinions on the Facebook page were recruited for the study. What? So they went and found people who were posting stuff on Facebook. So they just went and like pulled all of their information. How do they just like stalk people on Facebook? For example, one participant posted, "This is the true vision of a sociopath. I am physically ill over the conclusion. I am besides myself. I was overjoyed at the news that he was arrested." Approximately 92 participants reported that Durst was guilty, and 77 reported that he would have a difficult time convincing them that he was not guilty in the upcoming murder trial. In addition, participants were familiar with multiple prejudicial media items from the documentary, including that Durst, one, was a suspect in his wife's disappearance, 96%, was a suspect in several murders, 92%, and had been tried in Texas for murder, 92%, and had allegedly confessed. 100% of people knew that or had heard about that before. Participants were read an instruction drafted from the transcript from a high-profile case. The introduction mentioned that Durst was entitled to a fair and impartial trial. The burden of proof was on the prosecution to prove that he was guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Participants were also told that the law requires them to set aside any biases and opinions they had and decide the case solely based on the evidence in the courtroom. Participants were then asked if they could be a fair and impartial juror and decide the case solely on the basis of the evidence as the law required. Even though these participants had been exposed to a prejudicial miniseries with multiple inadmissible prejudicial details, made negative comment about the defendant publicly, believed that Durst was guilty, and indicated that he would have a difficult time convincing them otherwise. 81% reported that they could be fair and impartial. When asked an open-ended question, their responses mirrored what they had heard from the introduction. For example, the participant who described the defendant as a true vision of a sociopath reported that he could definitely be fair and impartial and explained, "I could start from the beginning and listen to the information presented and follow the directions and wipe out everything that I know. I would need to be convinced beyond a shadow of a doubt." These findings are consistent with the body of social science literature on the efficacy of the set-aside question. Even in the most extreme of circumstances, prospective jurors provide the socially desirable response. Accordingly, a juror's professed ability to be fair and impartial should not be taken at face value in cases where there is substantial prejudicial pretrial publicity. I agree. This is less of an issue when dealing with the tangible. Nope. I don't know this word. Tangent. Chill. Okay, you know what? Touching lightly, incidental, peripheral of little relevance. Little relevance. Why can't they just use regular words? What do I look like? Dealing with experiences of little relevance, limited case knowledge, and general attitudes jurors typically bring with them to the courtroom in most cases. There is little evidence, however, to suggest that individuals can forget to disassociate themselves from specific attitudes, emotions, and beliefs about the defendant in case developed from exposure to media coverage. Okay, so this is his conclusion, and it's still 100 pages. So what else are we about to see? Okay, so we're technically about to be done reading the whole thing. because it looks like this is literally just all of... Oh, then they have the survey instrument. Okay, we'll read the conclusion, and then we will go back down there to read that, because that looks like the layout for the actual survey. Oh, hey Richard, how you doing? Hey there, Richard. No, that's not what it said. Tangential. I like the way I said it. Is it 9:30? No, it's 8:45. It is 8:45. Yeah, it's Kohberger. It's 2:15 of the 319. He said something about that. Something was a red herring, didn't he? I think they said it. They felt like it was the car. Maybe not, though. Or maybe I'm getting Thompson confused with Papa Rogers. I think we might actually finish this thing today. Even if it's a little bit after 9:30, that'll be okay, because that's like 45 minutes. But I think we'll be able to get it. Okay. Let's stay on task. Okay, conclusion. It is my opinion that the residents in Latah County have been exposed to extensive prejudicial pretrial publicity and social media surrounding the murders of Kaylee Goncalves, Maddie Mogen, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin. The media saturated the jury pool with potential trial evidence and details, some of which provided to be false or misleading, which we would not have known the two statements were false or misleading in order for that to be put in this and be such a huge selling point for the defense if we would not have had the state throw a hissy fit and do all the boo-boo that they did with the court and had the hearing happen. If that hearing wouldn't have happened, we wouldn't know half of this, and they wouldn't have half the ammo that they've got to fight. To this day, there would still be a whole bunch of people out there thinking that Bryan Kohberger stalked the victims and or stalked one of them on social media. And there would be nothing that we could do besides say, yeah, but every single time the Goncalveses have tried to say it, they always say that they can't verify it. Well, now we have the actual charging people saying, no, false. And we can actually point them to where he's saying it out of his own face. We ain't even got to paraphrase. They just do it to themselves, don't they? They do it to themselves. The media saturated the jury pool with potential trial evidence and details, some of which proved to be false or misleading. These killings sent shockwaves through the local community and generated widespread panic during the 6-week search for the killer. With limited information made available by investigators, rumors and misinformation proliferated through informal communication channels and social media platforms about the crime and killer. Residents remained on high alert and feared that the murderer could strike again. A large number of students went home for the Thanksgiving break and did not return. Despite efforts by the court to curb the flow of prejudicial pretrial publicity, the survey data indicated that the coverage has had an impact on the jury pool and undermined the presumption of innocence. Approximately 98% of the survey respondents were familiar with the case. In addition, community members have more than just a passing familiarity with this crime. 68% of survey respondents reported that they have followed the case somewhat or very closely, with 29% falling into the latter category. In addition, 79% of survey respondents recognized at least 5 of 9 media items tested in the survey, and 52% knew 7 or more. 81% of those familiar with the case had read, seen, or heard that police found a knife sheath on the bed next to one of the victims, and 67% were aware that the DNA found on the sheath was matched to Bryan Kohberger. In addition, 86% of Latah County survey respondents heard that the defendant owned the same type of car recorded on video driving in the neighborhood where the killings occurred, and 79% knew that the cell phone tower data purportedly show that Kohberger made several trips near the victims' homes months before the killings. These findings are particularly concerning given that these media items, which came from the probable cause affidavit released to the media, were significantly related to prejudgment. This puts the defendant at a distant disadvantage at the start of trial. Many of the incriminating details widely reported are in dispute, including the claim that Kohberger's vehicle was placed near the crime scene by video footage and cell tower data, because they don't have it. They don't have that proof. Cyray's told us that, and he has seen it all, at least up until that point. After these details were mentioned repeatedly in the coverage for over 16 months, the prosecution stated during a hearing that several of them were false or potentially inadmissible. Within this climate, the burden of proof has shifted to the defendant. Kohberger must change jurors' pre-existing opinions regarding the evidence against him, which have developed from extensive exposure to biased media coverage. Several rumors have proliferated throughout Latell County. For example, survey respondents reported that Kohberger had a bad history with women, was responsible for other murders, bragged about committing the perfect murder, and was acting strange after the crime occurred. That crazy fire in California is causing fiery tornadoes. Crazy. Scary stuff. Where was I at? Okay. The media also shared posts from his social media accounts, which reinforced negative opinions of the defendant. Other survey respondents reported that Kohberger was obsessed with one of the victims, had dated her, tracked her location, and been in her house in the past. There was also speculation about drugs, other suspects involved, an online business that was sexual in nature, and parties at the victim's house. Many Latell County prospective jurors exposed to prejudicial media coverage hold a presumption of guilt. Approximately 67% of survey respondents who knew about the case reported that Bryan Kohberger is guilty of murder, with 25% indicating that he is definitely guilty. The presumption of guilt increased to 81% for those who recognized 7 or more media items. In addition, 51% of survey respondents reported that Kohberger would have a difficult time convincing them that he is not guilty, which increased to 66% for those who recognized 7 or more media items. Latell is the 11th largest county in Idaho, with just 32,515 residents over the age of 18. 66%. 800 numbers calling me at 9 o'clock at night. Isn't there a law about that? I could have sworn there was a law about that. Let's see. These murders devastated this small community and shattered residents' sense of safety. The survey data provide insight into the extent of personal connections among Latell County residents in Moscow, the University of Idaho, and these murders. Approximately 88% of those familiar with the case have talked about it or heard others talking about it in person or online. In addition, 78% of survey respondents lived in Moscow or knew someone that lived there at the time of the murders. Another 25% reported that they or a family member was a student or employee at the University of Idaho in Moscow. A sizable percentage of the prospective jury pool was also connected to the murder investigation. Approximately 22% of Latell County survey respondents are employed or know someone employed by a law enforcement agency involved in the murder investigation. Latell County residents lived in a perpetual state of panic during the search for the killer. Many survey respondents reported that they started locking their doors for the first time, and parents feared for their children's lives. More than half, 56%, of survey respondents reported that they or someone they know experienced higher levels of stress, anxiety, or fear during the manhunt. That number increased to 63% for Moscow residents. Overall, these findings are particularly concerning given the limitations of voir dire as a tool of assessing the full extent of prospective jurors' case knowledge in high-profile cases. Consistent with the research literature, survey respondents offered incomplete recall when asked the most common open-ended question: What have you read, seen, or heard about the case? Yeah, that's pretty vague. Most survey respondents, 96%, later recognized at least one additional media item they failed to report in their open-ended answer and recognized an average of 4.9 additional media items. For example, only 3% of survey respondents mentioned that Bryan Kohberger had stalked one of the victims when describing what they had heard about the case. However, 45% remembered this prejudicial media item when asked a closed-ended recognition question later in the survey. This finding is particularly concerning given that 81% of survey respondents who were familiar with this media item believe Bryan Kohberger is guilty of murder, and 62% reported that he would have a difficult time convincing them otherwise. Jurors' inability to fully recall what they know about a high-profile case undermines the value of voir dire as a tool of ferreting out bias. If jurors are unable to fully disclose what they have read, seen, or heard, then neither the court nor defense counsel can properly weigh self-professions of impartiality and exercise challenges. The comparison surveys also found significant case recognition and bias in Ada, Canyon, and Bannock counties. However, there were important differences between Latah County and the comparison venues. Ada County's population is more than 12 times larger than Latah County, with 406,068 residents over the age of 18. Its residents are also far less invested in this case. Only 15% reported that they followed the case very closely, and survey respondents were less familiar with prejudicial media items. For example, 63% had read, seen, or heard that police found a knife sheath on one of the victims' beds, and 52% had heard that DNA on the knife sheath matched the defendant. Recognition rates for these media items were 18 and 15 percentage points lower than in Latah County. Ada County survey respondents were also less familiar with prejudicial misinformation reported by the media. For example, 35% had heard that the defendant allegedly followed one of the victims on social media, compared to 45% in Latah County. So how come some of the percentages are bold and some of them aren't? Okay. Ada County residents had fewer personal connections to these murders, and the local community only 20% lived. Connections to these murders and the local community. Only 20% lived or knew someone who lived in Moscow at the time of the killings. Just 4% reported that they or a family member was a student or employee at the University of Idaho in Moscow. In addition, 2% of Ada County survey respondents are employed or know someone employed by a law enforcement agency involved in the murder investigation. Okay. Just 4% reported that they or a family member was a student or employee at the University of Idaho in Moscow. In addition, 2% of Ada County, I am not going to just say these words. It's just not going to happen. Ada County survey respondents are employed and know someone employed by a law enforcement agency involved in the murder investigation. Okay, let's see. Okay, finally, Ada County community members do not suffer the levels of emotional distress found in Latah County during the search for the killer. Only 31% speak. Just talk. It can't be that hard, right? Only 31% of prospective jurors reported that they or someone they know experienced higher levels of stress, anxiety, or fear during the manhunt, 25 percentage points lower than in Latah County. Well, that's because they were nowhere near Pullman or Moscow. So yeah. In conclusion, given the nature of the pretrial publicity, its negative impact on the Latah County jury pool, and the small size of the county, I believe there is a reasonable likelihood that the presumption of innocence has been undermined and shifted to a presumption of guilt. Yeah. So this basically is just like everything over again. It's the summary, and he's just saying a whole bunch of stuff that we've read already. I'm going to finish it, but I'm just saying it's a lot of repetitive stuff. As such, remedial measures are necessary to protect the defendant's constitutional rights to a fair and impartial trial. Based on these findings, it is my opinion that a change of venue would be an appropriate prophylactic measure to mitigate the prejudicial impact of pretrial publicity surrounding this case. I declare under the penalty of perjury under the laws of the state of California, because I guess that's where he's from, that the foregoing facts are true and correct, except as to facts based upon information and belief, which facts I believe to be true. And he finalized his conclusion 10 days ago. That was a lot of info. That's a lot of info. So this is all of the research papers, the books, the cases, everything that they used and mentioned in the report itself. It's a lot of stuff. Okay. So this will be interesting to look at because it has a whole bunch of different questions and stuff on it that it seems like was actually being used. So we're going to look at this because this says screener for Latah County. I wonder if the questions changed for county. I guess we'll find out. Let's see. Hello, my name is your name here, calling from survey company name. So it'd be like, hi, my name is Jules, and I'm calling from Dr. Eldelman's survey company, whatever it's called. We are not selling anything, and this is not a political poll. We're doing a public opinion survey among local residents to obtain opinions about an upcoming trial. Your cooperation is very important because your household was selected at random by computer as being representative of your county. Again, we are not selling anything, and this is not a political poll. I mean, the fact that they say what company they come from, it kind of does make you not feel as if it is so official. They probably would maybe get a lot more honest opinions on stuff if they would say that they were actually calling for the courthouse, like this was calling for the case specific. But then again, I guess once they get down to like the questions and stuff, then they pretty much have that. Okay, so then they say... does the respondent have a reasonable working knowledge of English? Yes or no? First, do you live in Latah County? Yes or no? Have I reached you on your cell phone or landline? Are you a U.S. citizen who is 18 or older with an Idaho driver's license or state-issued identification card? Are you a U.S. citizen who is 18 or older and registered to vote in Latah County? Oh, I gotta wrangle in them kids. They get excited on them games. They get loud. Especially my 6-year-old. He starts saying all kind of crazy stuff. Okay. Are you in a place where you can safely talk on the phone and answer my questions? Yes or no? When is a safe time for you to call me back or for me to call you back? Blah, blah, blah. Before I begin asking you questions, I'd like you to know that there are no right or wrong answers and that you are free to respond with a don't know or no opinion with a don't know, not even a I don't know. Let me give you permission to just speak in fragments. I don't know why I find that comical. I don't know. Anyway, or no opinion. Answer to any question. All of your answers will remain confidential. You better yell it because there's an exclamation point. Now, I'd like to read you a few statements about the criminal justice system. Please tell me whether you strongly agree, somewhat disagree, or strongly disagree with the following statement. Ooh, we should play a game with this. We should play a game with this one day. Well, let's just do it now. It'll be kind of slow. How many people are in here? Like 88 something? Okay, almost 90 people. Do y'all see? Let me make it bigger. Do y'all see the 1, 2, 3, 4? What in the shit? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, and 9. I don't know why in the world they skipped the rest, but y'all see that, right? So I'm going to ask this question and y'all drop in the chat your answer. If the government brings someone to trial, that person is probably guilty. Strongly agree. 1, somewhat agree. 2, somewhat disagree. 3, strongly disagree. 4, no opinion. 5, don't know. 8, or refuse to answer. 9. So if you're still in the chat, answer the question. Which way y'all feel about it? Strongly disagree. Somewhat disagree. 8, don't know. Yeah, most of the time you don't, right? No opinion. Yeah. No opinion. Yeah. I mean, it would have to be no opinion, right? Just because somebody goes to trial. Does it really mean much? Honestly, like at all? At super at all? Maybe we'll do this separately. We'll come back and we'll do a live where we just answer the questions on the survey. Yeah, I'd have to listen to everything. But this also tells you how people instantly will think on cases. And honestly, on some of them, I mean, I'd be damned if I feel like you're guilty. I'm going to tell you you're guilty. Like Chad Dorman, he can kiss all my ass. He's guilty as sin. Leilani, whatever her face, Simon, stupid head face, she's guilty as sin too. Like, I don't care that they haven't gone to trial yet. I don't care what anything else or whatever anybody else says. They're guilty. I don't give a shit. So I know that we do have that whole, like, innocent until proven guilty thing, but in reality, is that really true? I mean, it sounds good whenever it's a case where you have a lot of questions, but in reality, we know damn well that's not how we are as human beings. But it's about being able to actually, like, separate it. It's hard to, though, whenever you know for a fact by just looking at somebody that they're the one. Ain't no doubt. It sucks that you know that the majority of the time they're wrong. Your tax dollars are paying for them to be wrong. That wouldn't surprise me, Angel. That's crazy. That's crazy. Have you talked to, I mean, I'm guessing that you probably have, but that's wild. They can just leave something on your stuff. This is the survey to see if they have to change the venue. Some of them, not all of them, but some of them. I don't know. Well, we'll see how much of an excuse that is. Because this is something that he was planning for a while, according to everything that I read. Yeah, I don't understand how the stupid girlfriend in that situation right here got any sort of leniency or anything whatsoever when they still don't have her body. Like, I'm sorry. No, go sit back down in hell where you belong, Miss Ma'am. You don't get nothing. And the fact, like, him and that the guy who killed Madeline Soto, I think is her name. Like, when the hell did it become a thing to where these assholes get to choose whether they can be in court or not? If I have to go all the way to court and make a 20 freaking hour round trip drive to testify in order for the idiot that we're dealing with to actually go back to freaking prison, then how come these people that are out there murdering babies don't have to actually stand in the courtroom and they can just be told, oh, it's fine. You don't have to. You should be forced, dragged by your freaking hair and strapped down if you don't want to. Crazy ass. I don't understand that. Get on my damn nerves. It just comes out so easy. I don't understand either. She's a sick freak. She is sick freak. Ugh. Okay. We'll go through these questions, but I'd like to do like a live by itself. Or maybe I'll just do like a poll. That way that I can then come back and do a live and we can go over the results. And I'll just do like a poll for every single one of these. And see, depending on how many there are. We'll see. Okay. The next question says, next, is it better for society to let some guilty people go free than to risk convicting an innocent person? Last one, even the worst criminal should be considered for mercy. Now I'll ask you about an upcoming jury trial in Latah County. Back in 2022, okay, so they ask a bunch of questions before they even get into the specifics about what this is about. That's a good idea. That might. I'll see what my creativity will let me do this weekend. Yeah, they should be made to. Like I said, drag them by their hair, strap them down, you gonna deal with it. That's what should happen. All right, let's see. Yeah, they asked them like a whole bunch of stuff before they get to what this is about. So that's interesting. It's a good amount of vetting, I guess, anyway. Okay. Back in 2022, 4 students attending the University of Idaho in Moscow were stabbed in their home. About a month later, Bryan Kohberger was arrested and charged with murder. Have you read, seen, or heard anything about this case? And then it gives the survey taker instructions on where to go depending on the way that the survey taker is answering the question. Bryan Kohberger was arrested at his parents' home in Pennsylvania. Have you read, seen, or heard anything about this case? See, that's kind of strange, though, because saying, have you read or heard anything about this case after giving a very specific thing? Wouldn't it be more like, have you heard that before, that he was arrested at his parents' house? I don't know if I feel like these are done correctly. Okay. Based on what you have read, seen, or heard about the case, do you believe Bryan Kohberger is definitely guilty, probably not guilty, or definitely not guilty of murder? Given what you have read, seen, or heard about the case, would Bryan Kohberger have a difficult time convincing you that he is not, repeat, is not guilty of murder? How closely have you followed this case? Would you say very closely, somewhat closely, not too closely, or not at all? What have you read, seen, or heard about this case? Shouldn't that be the first question that you ask after you've given a bunch of specifics? I feel like this is backwards from what they just tried to like explain to us. I don't know. What rumors or theories, if any, have you heard about these murders, Bryan Kohberger or the victims? What are your thoughts and feelings about Bryan Kohberger, the victims, and this case? What 3 words do you believe best describe Bryan Kohberger? What is your opinion of Bryan Kohberger? Is it very positive, somewhat negative, or very negative? How did these murders impact your community? The prosecution is seeking the death penalty for Bryan Kohberger. If the jury finds him guilty of first-degree murder, it must then decide on whether to sentence him to the death penalty or to life without the possibility of parole. Which sentence do you believe the jury should select, the death penalty or life without the possibility of parole? Given what you have read, seen, or heard about the case, would Bryan Kohberger have a difficult time convincing you that he should receive life without the possibility of parole instead of the death penalty? Do you believe residents in Ada County would react if the jury found Bryan Kohberger to be not guilty? This should say guilty, not guilt, not guilt. There's a lot of typos in here. Just saying, it's on my nerves. What concerns, if any, would you have about serving as a juror on this case? As you may know, let me make sure I switched it back. The last time I left it there forever. What concerns, if any, would you have about serving as a juror in this case? As you may know, the media have reported a number of things about this case. Some people may remember some things, while others may remember other things. We're interested in what you may remember, even if you already told me in one of the previous questions. Have you read, seen, or heard if Bryan Kohberger was arrested at his parents' home in Pennsylvania? That's the same question. So they asked that damn question twice? Why? They ask it right here. It's Q5B. And then they do it again down here. QA. Why? Okay. Have you read, seen, or heard if police found a knife sheath on the bed next to one of the victims? Have you read, seen, or heard if DNA found on the knife sheath was later matched to Bryan Kohberger? Have you read, seen, or heard if Bryan Kohberger owns the same type of car recorded on video driving in the neighborhood? Oh, the whole chat's going to yawn now. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that on camera. Have you read, seen, or heard if Bryan Kohberger owns the same type of car recorded on video driving in the neighborhood where the killings occurred? Have you read, seen, or heard if cell phone tower data show that Bryan Kohberger made several trips near the victim's home in the months before the killings? Have you read, seen, or heard if university students in Moscow and their parents lived in fear until Bryan Kohberger was arrested for the murders? Have you read, seen, or heard if Bryan Kohberger said he was out driving alone on the night of the murders? Have you read, seen, or heard if Bryan Kohberger stalked one of the victims? Have you read, seen, or heard if Bryan Kohberger stalked one of the victims? Again? Why would you re-ask the exact same question and then also say Bryan Kohberger had followed one of the victims on social media and have it listed like this to where it's not have you read, seen, or heard if Bryan Kohberger had followed one of the victims on social media? You know, for this to be a company that's been doing this for like a super, super long time and he's supposed to have like all these credentials of awesomeness, I have complaints. Have you talked about this case with your family, friends, or coworkers, or discussed it online, for example, on social media? Have you ever heard others talking about this case in person or online? Have you seen anything about this case or the murders on Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, or other social media sites? Have you watched any episodes or shows covering the Moscow murders, for example, on Netflix, Paramount, or Dateline? Have you joined any groups on social media that talk about the case? For example, the University of Idaho murders discussion Facebook group. They were specific. Have you listened? Isn't that the one Papa Rogers was in? They didn't really rephrase it though. They asked the exact same question twice. Like the same thing. Like I even went like whenever I went back to check it again, I was like, well, maybe once at house, maybe once at home. It's the same thing. I think this is the one for Ada County from how it just said something about being a juror at Ada County. There was like a specific county question. This is for the potential jurors in the county itself for the change of venue survey. Not like they haven't done anything yet when it comes to jury questions. But honestly, I don't see why these wouldn't be like I feel like they would be pretty close to this. But no, see this is see how this is calling from the survey company. This is the actual change of venue survey. But I feel like it would probably be pretty close. That's my thing. I know I'm trying to get through it. I just want to make sure I haven't missed anything, and it's such a long document. I just want to make sure we've read it through. But yeah, this is just the phone. This is just the phone survey. I don't think that we're going to end up getting the questionnaire for the jurors until after trial. That's normally how that works, right? That's normally how that works. I wonder if Papa Rogers is going to be brought up in court. That'll be interesting. Have you listened to any true crime podcast or watched any shows on YouTube that cover this case? For example, the King Road killings. But isn't that one like News Nation? Isn't it News Nation? I don't think his car has a black box. I'm pretty positive his is like the 1 year before they did that. Which is why, again, I'm like pretty positive he doesn't have a GPS in his vehicle. I could be wrong, but like we've looked at the dashboard and everything, and it just doesn't look like it does. He still has like the CD player slot. Right. I know it says any YouTube, but like this one very specifically, isn't that the one that like Brian Inton did? I mean, I could be wrong. I'm gonna go ahead and Google it because I think I might be wrong. But for some reason I'm seeing like Brian Inton's face and gray hair when I think about it. Crime Online. ABC. The King Road Killings. Is that what it was? The King Road Killings? Well, this says it's an ABC thingy-mabobber. So I don't really know if that's YouTube. Did they release it only on YouTube? Right. It's not one of those. Like it's one of those the ones from before that are only like event triggered. Like he'd have to have like slammed on his brakes, and it's kind of like the one that we learned about in the Dylan Rounds case, where it's event triggered and it only holds like 100 miles before it like resets or something like that. It's one of those ones that's not very worth a shit. That's why I say it's worthless. It's useless. They don't track everything. And all those, that whole month or so after the fact, and all of those thousands of miles that he drove, there'd be no data. Zip data. Well, no, Google doesn't have the specifics of the car though. But yeah, this right here, it's like it's impact only. It's event triggered. So unless he hit something, slammed on his brakes in a way that it was like from a certain speed, and then slamming on his brakes, like it's event triggered. And I think it's one of those ones where you have to be like going over 20 miles per hour or something like that for it to even trigger if you slam on your brakes or hit anything anyway. Like it's one of those. It's one of those kind, yeah. So it's useless. Is the whole point, is it's useless. Did you, a family member, or someone you know live in Moscow when these murders occurred? Are you or a family member a student or employee at the University of Idaho in Moscow? Have you ever visited or walked by the home where the murders occurred? So if you walked by the King Road house, they're going to ding you. They're going to ding you. It's ridiculous. Did you experience higher levels of stress, anxiety, or fear during the search for the person responsible for these killings? Can you tell me about that? Oh, is this a therapy session? What the shit? Did someone you know experience higher levels of stress, anxiety, or fear during the search for the person responsible for these killings? Can you tell me about that? Did you or someone you know work for any law enforcement agency that was involved in investigating the murders in Moscow? Finally, I have a couple of more questions to be sure we have included all groups in this survey. All of your answers will remain confidential. First, how often do you read a hard copy or online version of a newspaper? Would you say you read it every day, several times a week, once or twice a week, less often than once a week, or never? What newspapers do you read? I am interested in both local and out-of-town papers. There's a lot of different places. Blackfoot Morning News, Boise News, Bonner County Daily Bee, Clearwater Progress, Coeur d'Alene Press, Herald Journal. Dang, there's a lot. And then they want just like the basics, the basic big boys. Do you read any other papers? Instructions do not read lists of newspapers. How often do you listen to local news on the radio or watch it on television? Do you listen to or watch local news? Every day, several times a week. I don't need to read that part. How often do you see local news or news-related updates online or on social media sites such as TikTok, Twitter, or Facebook? Which city or town do you live in or the nearest? And don't read these. Do not read the responses. Like, don't tell them any of the towns and just make sure that they are like legit, I guess. I don't know. Could you please tell us how old you are? Regardless of race, are you Hispanic, Latino, or Spanish origin? Why does that matter? I don't understand why this part matters. So stupid. Could, regardless of your Hispanic, Latino, or Spanish origin, what is your race? Could, regardless of your what? Who wrote this? Are you white, African American? Why do you need any of this? Finally, for statistical purposes only, we need to know if you've ever been convicted of a felony. Okay, what is this? Oh, we've got some pies, y'all. We got some pies. Let's see. Media exposure and Latah County population. So this is basically just the graphs that match all of the stuff that I just broke my vocal cords reading. These are the actual questions that were asked to the change of venue survey takers. Those were the ones that were given to the people in Ada County. And TrueScope is the company that Edelman, I guess, created. So as you can see here, Latah is 36.13 of the total media coverage in Idaho. It's not even a full 2%. Less in Ada County. Media coverage here, Canyon is 3.07, Bannock 1.56. So they're I guess they're trying to compare the two largest areas to the two smallest, because that's what I'm seeing. I mean, that's how I see. Like, I know why they ask those stupid ass questions, but I just don't see the why it's worth it. What's the point? I just don't get it. Opportunities to be seen per person, like seen by the media coverage seen per person. This doesn't mean every person is exposed to the story, but rather represents the number of times they had the chance to read it. What? Okay, this is stupid as shit. Why would you need the calculations of the times that somebody might have had the chance to, but didn't? They putting some math in there that don't need to be in there. Like they're making this a little bit too complicated for no reason. That's how I feel. What is this for? So we don't label things? Oh, we do. Okay. Latah's blue. Media coverage over time. Type of media, volume, media coverage, sentiment, population numbers. Todd Murphy. Here's the person. Oh, so okay. So this Todd Murphy person that is on the witness list, this is just his credentials. This is just his credentials. And I'm not reading his credentials. If the defense team have him on the team, then that's just what it is. Okay. Here's one. I know it's 9:30, but this is from the Scott Sunby guy that is also on the witness list. And this is like, I guess, I don't know if there's anything specific to the case in this. I don't really want to go over everywhere that he's worked. They were supposed to fix this and didn't, I guess. I just want to skim through it and see if there's anything case specific. Yeah, it's just talking about the media in a university setting. This basically just tells me that he doesn't believe it needs to be held there, that he's basically saying it needs to be moved too. I guess we could start from right here. I'm not reading all of his credentials and stuff, though. Let's see. Crucially, because the death penalty is an individual moral judgment by the juror of whether the defendant deserves a death penalty, the pressure is heightened. A juror voting for life instead of death will know that their decision will be interpreted by the community, many of whom they are likely to know personally, as saying that the victims and community's sufferings were not worthy of the death penalty. That perception will likely make some jurors react like Mr. Stinnett and vote for death, at least in part because they know they will be judged harshly for their decision if they return a life sentence. That's like that social desirability thing, right? Like the people-pleasing thing where people are going to vote a certain way because they don't want to be chastised, is basically what it comes down to. They don't want to lose their jobs. They don't have people egging their house. They don't want to have people throwing Molotov cocktails through their windows. They don't want to that crazy shit. They don't want to wake up to sliced tires or getting a crappy table in the back of a restaurant whenever they go out to eat because the town hates them. They don't want to deal with none of that. It's basically what it is. But it's true, and it's something that they need to think about, especially in this area, for sure. For sure. To base a death sentence on fear of community reaction would, of course, fall outside Idaho's statutory basis for imposing a death sentence and constitute arbitrary and capricious punishment under the Eighth Amendment. Second, because the victims were students at the university, the institution, which is the heartbeat of the city, the ripple effect of the murders makes potential jurors in a very real sense victims once removed. Unlike the isolated murder of a town resident, as in the case where Mr. Stinnett was a juror, and Mr. Stinnett is just the person whose case he's like referencing here about a death row inmate spared because a juror makes a plea for something. That's all that this is. It's just different. It's like whatever he's getting his information for his opinion, I guess, from. Unlike the isolated murder of a town resident, as the case where Mr. Stinnett was a juror, as tragic as that might be, these murders traumatized Moscow as a city, both emotionally and economically. Media reports document the anxiety that the residents felt with the murderer at large for over 6 weeks, and how many students did not return to the university because of fear for their safety. Supplying 50% of the economy, the university is also the primary fuel of the city's economic engine. Yeah, that's true. That's very, very true. Just as we would not allow a guard who worked in the same prison to serve on a jury where a defendant was on trial for the murder of a prison guard, the distinct danger is that Moscow residents will not, no matter how hard they may try, have the objective emotional detachment required to serve as a capital juror. That's probably one of the most blunt statements this entire thing has had so far. But why is my that's what makes no sense. If y'all know I have questions, right? Of course. But my whole sentiment is if the town felt like they had the right guy, why not talk? What you scared for? So if the whole town is scared to talk, then the whole town knows they got the wrong guy, and all of this sentiment in this entire survey would be a lie. Why would you be mad and fearful if Bryan was out, if the whole sentiment now of the silence is for what? What you quiet for? It's all very hypocritical, contradictorial. It's very contradictorial. But then again, it goes back to the reason why I got on YouTube anyway. It was the Kylie Rodney case. How the hell do you have a party with a whole bunch of kids from a whole bunch of different counties and cities and towns and even some from like a whole nother state? And there's no photos, there's no pictures. Photos and pictures are the same damn thing. There's no videos, there's no proof of any damn thing. And how can you shut up people from hundreds of miles away? It's all crazy. It's just like the roommates. It goes back to the roommate behavior is the same as the town behavior. If the roommate really knew for sure that that was the dude that she swears to the cops that she saw walking in front of her, then what you worry for? Again, it is essential to remember that capital jurors are required not simply to find facts, but to use their own individual moral assessment in deciding whether the defendant should live or die. The fair and impartial nature of that assessment is inescapable in question where the jurors or individuals close to them have suffered psychological and, in some cases, economic harm from the defendant's alleged actions. And a lot of people in the survey, that thing that we were just reading, were talking about businesses shutting down, students not coming back, so there's no, like, the money flow is lower. There was a lot of ripple effects. It should be stressed this is in no way a criticism to the ability of Moscow's residents to be fair and impartial in a typical murder case. This case, however, is by anyone's reckoning not a typical case because of the widespread emotional and economic trauma it caused. To allow jurors who have an emotional investment in the crime, an investment they may not even be conscious of, to serve on the jury would allow the prosecution to unconstitutionally start the proceeding with a thumb on death's side of the scale. And then he just signs it. This is from Amani El Alaili. She is the social psychologist, social cognition researcher. So is this okay? We're gonna have to, like, come back again, guys. I failed my 9:30 assessment because I'm gonna have to. I want to read this whole thing from this lady. But I'm going to read for the next 20 minutes. I'm going to get off this at 10. So we're going to go through this and see what this woman says. If it starts feeling really repetition again, I'm done. Because these people can only say like so much before we actually have just like the hearing. You know what I mean? And plus, we don't even know what the hell's on that USB drive. I would love to know what's on that USB drive. Let's see. Scientific report of the effects of media coverage on prospective jurors. How long is this thing for her? So she took into account all the trial innovation survey results. So she went through and read everything that we just read too. Let's see. I mean, honestly, this is like a bunch of the same kind of stuff. And I'll put a link. I always have a link where y'all can go back and like read all the stuff. Yes. This is page 260. It's stuff from the people. It's basically all the scientific gobbledygook that's going to be spoken out loud in the hearing, honestly. Because this is a social, or is it psychological? What'd she say she was? Social psychologist. So, yeah, I feel like it's a bunch of the same kind of stuff about human behavior, the way that it is with the press, the way that people are going to, I guess, pay attention to certain things. I mean, basically the concept is this, without having to even like, what USB drive? This one. The USB drive that apparently has a whole bunch of support and evidence that is from the defense when it comes to everything that they're claiming is going to be evidence here. But I don't know if that means that like all of those freaking media things that we have a list of that they took all this information from is going to be on that USB drive to like show the actual examples of where they're getting their stuff from, or if there's going to be something else on it. Yeah, that's what I feel like it is too. Stuff like that. Thank you, thank you. Just trying to get through like all of this stuff. Right? He's the first person we've ever seen. Saves his freaking work. Saves his work. But yeah, it's this USB drive. It is sealed, which I mean, it's not like they were just going to like plug it in and upload all of its contents to the Idaho Judicial Case of Interest website. So I don't know why they felt the need to do that, honestly. But this is I'm not even reading all this. I really like, I'm just not going to do it. I'm just going to say this. It's becoming very clear what the fight's going to be. And it's pretty much just based on human nature. Pressure, peer pressure, something that we see constantly when it comes to high school kids, middle school kids, anybody in an area where you have an impressionable mind. It could be a 45-year-old adult or a 5-year-old child. But that's basically what it's going to come down to, is the human inability. But you can't always trust what a human is going to say about how unbiased they're claiming that they will be. You can't really trust what they're going to do until they're in the moment of doing it. So if they can sit here and say, yeah, I know this, and that, and everything else, but I can be impartial, you probably shouldn't believe that person. Because if they have felt the need to sit there and look at that information up to the point to where they have retained it in their head to be able to just recall it that quickly, then they've got more going on when it comes to their like want of knowledge for the case. So if they can sit there and answer 7 out of 9 questions, they probably don't need to be anywhere near it. So we're going to go ahead. I'm just going to read the conclusion from Amani, because basically they've all agreed that they need to move it. So without reading all the other stuff that was literally probably just, not probably, I was skimming through it and it looks like it's all the same. It's all the same. My conclusion from the review of the research that is pretrial publicity effects on judgments tend to affect judgments of guilt and are pervasive, lasting through trial, and hard to reduce. As such, the best way to prevent them, based on our current knowledge base, would be to utilize jurors who have not been exposed to such coverage. Moreover, the probability of a fair trial should be greater if jurors are less emotional invested and connected with a case, for the reasons noted in this report. Research suggests that limiting emotions among jurors in the first place is a more effective path to objectivity than trying to reduce the effects of emotions on legal decisions. Because of the difficulties with asking jurors about their exposure and biases, it would be best to recruit jurors from a location in which there has been less media exposure to information, less discussion regarding the case, and less personal and emotional investment in the case. Although this case has received widespread national attention, residents within Latah County appear to have had more exposure to the case and been more personally and emotionally invested in it. Thus, my recommendation for a change of venue to a location outside of Latah County, which she wouldn't be part of the defense's witness list if she wasn't agreeing with what they wanted to do. And again, this is just her curriculum, her background, and everything that she got her information from, I guess. Courses that she's taught, different things that she's done. She's been busy. Who's this one from? This one just says expert report on survey research. Oh, Veronica Dahir. They spend a lot of time talking about themselves. Like, I know that they need to basically prove that they are worth their words, right? But they talk a lot about themselves. Yeah, random digit dialing, validity and reliability in community attitude surveys, validity and reliability of random digit dialing. It's basically the junk science behind the junk science behind the junk science. That's basically what this is. And there's all her references. And there's her experience. and all the things that she's done with her life. Come on now. Girl, do you ever sit down? There we go. Okay, maybe not. Grants and contracts. This is all the stuff that she's had, like, given to her, I guess? She does stuff in Nevada. That's interesting. This even has, like, money amounts that she's gotten for doing certain things. My geez, this chick. This is all her like, stuff that she's done. Holy crap. Okay, so, like, the last, like, 15 pages is this Veronica lady's just like, "This is what I've done with my life." That's it. I'm only 16 minutes behind. Nevada? That says Nevada to me. Nevada. I'm done with it. Yeah, wow. She did a lot of stuff in her life. So, while it was a lot of pages, it was a bag of chips. I'll say that. Not when it comes to the information and, like, the rumors and crazy shit that, like, the locals have heard, because obviously they got some wackadoo mishmash going on there. But when it comes to the media stuff, you notice that, like, the media stuff that they showed in the paperwork didn't really match the, like, rumory stuff that the locals were talking about. See, I'm still reading Nevada. You'll say that. Thanks, Kaylin. Kylan. Thanks, Kylan. Yeah. See, Nevada makes more sense, but Nevada is what that looks like. Nevada. But yeah. I mean, they need to change the venue anyway. I knew it was coming. It needed to be done. Like, again, guys, I feel like they've got like real ammo for a lot of stuff and they're not using it, and I can't really figure out why. I really feel like they had a whole bunch of better examples they could have used for the way that the media has attacked this case, and they chose not to use them. They chose to use things that were really kind of vague and not really stating things as fact. Like, they were vague and also still leaving interpretation. So, yeah, I feel like they had better ammo and they just didn't use it. But I've said that about the grand jury thing and pretty much everything. I feel like Ann Taylor's had the chance to really use some real ammo that she's got here. The smaller one, the one that had the lower percentages, was it Bannock, whatever it was? The one that had the smaller stuff, because they were talking about Ada County. Let me pull it back up so I can see the percentages. They were talking about Ada County, and the percentages aren't enough to matter. To me, they're not enough to matter. And it was the other one, I believe it was Bannock. I think it was Bannock. Oh, I went up way too much. Where is it? Damn it. I'll find it. I think it's Bannock. I don't want to be wrong. I don't want to, like, say the wrong one. But it's the one I mentioned it earlier in the live. I mentioned it and we were going over it. That one sounds like it'd be the one that makes more sense. Oh, here it is. I think this is it right here. Hold on, where's it at? Yeah, it's somewhere in there, but I mentioned it in the live. It was one of the ones where it was smaller. It was Bannock. I feel like it was Bannock. But yeah. That was interesting. It took 3 days. And I don't feel like it was a waste. I'm glad we went through most of it. I'm not going through all their experience. It's not doing it. I trust Ann Taylor vetted them. I don't need to validate to myself that they're worth their weight if Ann Taylor hired them. You know what I mean? I don't need to go through all that. But that was interesting. But yeah, it's 10 to 10. I just hit that stupid thing. Do y'all hear that whenever I hit that? I hope not, because then I know whenever I hear it, sometimes my headphones is loud. Okay. But yeah, guys, I guess that's it. I don't know. I will not go live tomorrow. I try not to go live at all or do really anything on Friday. If I do anything, it'll be something small. I might go live this weekend though for something, maybe Sunday. I really want to try to like be live on Sundays, like every Sunday. I just will always have to change the subject because I like to change the subject on Sundays. So that's probably what I'll do. But that's it. I'm gonna watch TV for a little while. Me and Ariel are still watching Dexter, and she went to camp for a week. So yeah, Richard. Either that or Twitter. I have Twitter on my phone now, so I should get a message. I don't know. For a long time, it wasn't giving me my message notifications. I know, Cricket. It's cray-cray. I don't know. What happens August 8th, Pally? I don't know anything about August 8th. I know we have the change of venue hearing on August 29th, I think it is. I have to go back and look at my thingamabobbers. My lives I set up. So I'm pretty sure it's the 29th. Thank you, Sue. I'm just trying to make it understandable, because if I can understand it, then I know that it's easier for everybody else to understand, because a lot of this stuff I don't really understand what they coming out. It's crazy. But I feel like if I read it out loud, I understand it better. So I just rather just record it out here with you guys. You're welcome, Heather. Y'all have a good night. I'm going to go ahead and do the little closing thingamabobbers now. I will definitely be live on Sunday. I don't know what the subject will be, but I shall be here. You might see me a little bit on Saturday. We'll see. Y'all have a good night. Sweet dreams and all the things. See y'all. Let me see if I can get these on here. I only have to play these so I can go back and edit it and like make it look like it's an actual video. So I'm just going to ramble until I finally get to the right thing, because I'm still learning how to use this thingamabobber. Where's it at? Okay. Good night, you guys. See y'all. Please do not forget to leave a like on your way out and subscribe to the channel if you are not subscribed already.